repairs, home repairs, dry cleaning, and attacks on electric leaf blowers. This is all after running on making life more affordable. Here's the timeline of this story. Barack Obama said on a podcast last week about aliens, like outer space aliens. He said they're real, but I haven't seen them. He later clarified, I saw no evidence during my presidency that extraterrestrials have made contact with us. Really? Well, Trump was asked about this on Air Force One. He said, I don't know if they're real or not, but I can tell you he gave out classified information. But Trump later wrote on Truth Social, based on the tremendous interest shown, I will be directing the Secretary of War to begin the process of identifying and releasing government files related to alien and extraterrestrial life, and any and all information connected to these highly complex but extremely interesting and important matters. God bless America. God bless America indeed, and a great day for Team USA. Alyssa Liu won the gold medal in women's figure skating. First American woman to win the gold since 2002? How can that be? Our speed skater champion, Jordan Stoltz, he won the silver to go with his 2 previous golds, this time in the 1500, and he has one more chance to get gold on Saturday. And of course, Team USA women's hockey, this whole tournament, 33 goals for, only 2 against, wrapping up with a 2-1 win against Canada in overtime for the gold. Bill O'Reilly has your message of the day. Next.
Here's a bulletin for American homeowners. The FBI has been warning about a type of real estate fraud called title theft. And your equity is a target. With just a Ford signature, your ownership can be transferred out of your name. Without protection in place, you are left with an emotional and financial nightmare. That's why I partner with Home Title Lock, so you can find out today if you're already a victim and protect yourself. Use promo code BILL at HomeTitleLock.com to get a free title history report, plus a free trial of their $1 million triple lock protection. That's 24/7 monitoring, urgent alerts, and if you're a victim of fraud, they'll spend up to $1 million to fix it. So don't be a victim. Protect your equity today. HomeTitleLock.com, promo code BILL.
Hey, it's Vic. If you have a tree that you think is dead, you can get Roots Plus to remove it for you. Or if you think the tree is savable, or if Roots Plus thinks it's savable, they can save your tree and you keep your cash. Call them and find out what that's all about at 314-440-3662. The crews are great. They get things done. They removed the tree for me, and they did expert work, and I definitely will put my name on their company. So save the tree with Roots Plus LLC. RootsPlusLLC.com.
PRI Global now has Prismatic, an AI-driven platform that can help you and your business, especially in construction. Simplify your operations, secure data, modernize your business from the cloud up. Visit PRIGlobal.com. Innovation with talent and technology. People, process, platform. PRI Global delivers all 3. Check them out. PRIGlobal.com. PRIGlobal.com.
Time now for the O'Reilly Update message of the day. On this Friday, fresh off its failure to identify the mass killers in British Columbia and Rhode Island as trans people, the Associated Press has put out a hit piece on President Trump for honoring Black History Month at the White House. Can you believe it? Now, the AP's original mission was to report fact-based stories so Americans of all political persuasions could understand important situations. Well, today, the Associated Press is a far-left enterprise in business to advance that ideology. The Black History thing is a perfect example. Instead of reporting what actually took place at the White House ceremony, the AP tries to weave a tale of hypocrisy. It concentrates on the racist media post about the Obamas, as well as President Trump's scorn for inclusion. The news agency is implying that Mr. Trump has no right to participate in Black History Month because his beliefs don't line up with the AP's liberal view of the world. It's outrageous. Now, you may remember about this time last year, the AP was banished from the White House because of slanted reporting. That ban remains in place even though the agency is sued. But the larger problem is that America's largest news gathering operation is deceitful. And that is a fact. I'm Bill O'Reilly. I approve the message by writing it. You can reach me, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, Bill at BillO'Reilly.com, name and town if you wish to opine. Let's go to the mail. We got David on the message board. If you are a Premier and Concierge member to BillO'Reilly.com, you have access to our message board. You post anything you want, as long as it's not obscene. David says, President Trump puts his own foot in his mouth a lot of the time, saying Canada should be a 51st state, calling our prime ministers governors, and also inferring the USA doesn't need Canada at all. And you wonder why Canadian travel to the U.S. is down 25%. I don't wonder why. There's no wonderment in my analysis. I'm just telling you it's down. I know Canadians are mad. Some of them are mad at the USA. Janie, as a former Canadian, I'm sad by the relationship we have with Americans now. However, since much of my family still lives there, we have to agree to disagree on current politics. Unfortunately, they're listening to fake news and never get the true picture. I think there's some validity to that. You know, I do believe that Canada has coasted on the United States on trade and defense. All right. Sharon, concierge member. Sharon has all of our power at her disposal. You might want to check that program out on BillO'Reilly.com. Cuban people are suffering. My church is partnering with Filter of Hope. We're doing mission trips to Havana so they can at least have access to clean water. I am a bit surprised their government even allows mission trips, which may come to an end soon. Well, look, number one, your group's doing a good thing. The Cuban people are getting hammered, and they have since 1959. It's not their fault, but that government's got to change, and it will. It's coming. In a moment, something you might not know. Are you trapped in a timeshare? Fees rise every year while availability keeps shrinking, and resorts make exiting nearly impossible. That's why I endorse only one timeshare exit company, Lone Star Transfer. They're family-owned, transparent, committed to treating every client with respect while telling you the truth. Lone Star Transfer has helped more than 40,000 owners exit their timeshares legally and ethically through a simple, proven process. First, you receive a complimentary case review to confirm eligibility. Next, an exit strategy is customized to your specific situation. Finally, the Lone Star Transfer team implements your plan, guarantees results. I have partnered with the owners for more than 5 years, personally witnessed the outcomes delivered to our listeners. No surprise fees, no unused vacations, no stress, peace of mind. So please visit LoneStarTransfer.com or call 855-551-7066.
Hey, when pests invade your home, you need someone you can trust. It's Jamie Ullman here, and at Buckingham Pest Control, they're not just your exterminators, they're your neighbors and friends. A locally owned family business and St. Louis Magazine A-List award winner, providing affordable, quality pest control. Plus, they offer energy-efficient TAP attic insulation, the only insulation that controls pests. BuckinghamPestControl.com. That's BuckinghamPestControl.com.
Now, the O'Reilly update brings you something you might not know. 82 years ago today, a pair of superheroes first appeared in newspapers across the USA. The duo would soon become the most famous characters in the world. Here is the story behind Batman and Robin. Superheroes debuted, DC Comics, 1939. Creators came up with the name Bruce Wayne for Batman by combining two historical figures, Scottish leader Robert the Bruce and American Revolutionary War General Anthony Wayne. Batman was an immediate smash with the kids. Over the years, illustrators refined the character. His famous utility belt added in 1940. Batmobile 41. In February 1944, the Caped Crusader and his sidekick Robin were published nationwide. The first line of the syndicated comic strip was, quote, "Where'd you get that live fish, Batman?" 1966, the Batman TV series debuted on ABC. The show ran 3 seasons, consisted of 120 episodes. The Dark Knight took a back seat to Superman during the 1970s. But all had changed on June 23, 1989. The Batman film, starring Michael Keaton and Jack Nicholson as the Joker, quickly became the highest grossing movie of the year. Well, since then, some of Hollywood's biggest actors have worn the Batsuit, including Val Kilmer, George Clooney, Christian Bale, Ben Affleck, and most recently, Robert Pattinson. Others have taken on the role of Gotham's villains: Jim Carrey, Tommy Lee Jones, Arnold Schwarzenegger, Liam Neeson, Danny DeVito, Heath Ledger, Colin Farrell. In total, Batman movies have grossed $10 billion over the decades they've been released. That includes that 10 billion figure, some of the other ancillary stuff. And here's something else you might not know. Now there's a college course dedicated to the Cape Crusader. Biology students at Canada's University of Victoria can take the science of Batman. Back in a moment. Most people do not want a lecture when they are ill. They want medication fast. But too often, the system makes it harder than it should be. Appointments take weeks. Prescriptions get denied. Your insurance gets in the way. That's why more Americans are switching to all family pharmacy. If you already know what medication works for you, all family pharmacy makes it easy to get it. You order online. Licensed doctor reviews the request, and your medication is delivered directly to your own door. They carry everyday prescription medications, antibiotics, ivermectin, NAD+, others you will not always find at big chain pharmacies. So choose freedom. Choose the right pharmacy. Choose All Family Pharmacy. Please go to allfamilypharmacy.com/Bill. Use my code BILL10. Save 10% on your next order. Thank you for listening to the O'Reilly Update. I am Bill O'Reilly. No spin, just facts, and always looking out.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 1019, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Supreme Court has struck down President Trump's far-reaching global tariffs, handing him a significant legal setback on an issue crucial to his economic agenda. Correspondent Mark Sherman reports.
The justices voted 6-3 in ruling that an emergency powers law that does not in fact use the word tariffs does not give Trump the authority to impose tariffs, including reciprocal tariffs he imposed on nearly every country.
President Trump says he'll impose a global 10% tariff as an alternative to the Supreme Court ruling.
Now I'm going to go in a different direction, probably the direction that I should have gone the first time, but I read the language. I'm very good at reading language, and it read our way 100%, but now I'll go the way I could have gone originally, which is even stronger than our original choice.
President Trump is still mulling his options for a possible military strike against Iran.
Yeah, the president said yesterday 10 to 15 days is a clear deadline or a red line. And if they don't comply, bad things will happen, his words. Of course, they were negotiating in Geneva at the Oman embassy. Our case is that we don't want them to ever have a nuclear weapon because it would destabilize not only that region but much more broadly.
Military affairs analyst retired Lieutenant Colonel Robert McGinnis. A good day on Wall Street as the Dow Jones Industrial Average was up by 230 points. The Nasdaq Composite Index rose by 203, with the S&P 500 Index advancing by 47 points. More on these stories at townhall.com.
This month, Pure Talk is honoring Jackson and Lincoln by offering unlimited talk, text, and plenty of data for just 25 bucks a month. Meanwhile, Big Wireless is honoring Benjamin Franklin by charging families hundreds of dollars for the same 5G service. What's up with that? Ben Franklin wasn't even a president. When you switch to Pure Talk, you'll be in business with an American wireless company that supports our vets in a big way and keeps all their customer service in this country. That's important. And you'll be on the same towers the big carriers use, so you'll get the same 5G service without the inflated price. So hang on to your Benjamins and switch to Pure Talk for a Jackson and a Lincoln. No contract, no hidden fees. Dial pound 250, say Mike Rowe, and you'll get 50% off your first month when you switch. That's pound 250, Mike Rowe, for an American wireless company that is truly unprecedented.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A colder weekend coming our way. A low down to 29 degrees for Saturday morning. Some pockets of flurries or very light snow. We don't expect any impacts, and actually decreasing clouds and turning partly sunny in the afternoon on Saturday with a high of 42 degrees. That's a chilly day, though, and especially since we just had 70 a couple days ago. Sunday's even colder. A high of 36, and it is going to be blustery. So the wind chill about 25 degrees at best during the daytime under mostly sunny skies for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Rodney and Jen Wallner and the entire Wallner home selling team at Berkshire Hathaway. Call them today at 314-810-SOLD. 314-810-SOLD.
Kathy Connor from Connor Roofing is here. Kathy, how you doing?
Good. Hi, Vic.
You know, when you need a roof, I don't want to call a stranger. I want to call you.
Yeah, thanks. At Connor Roofing, we're more than just a roofing company.
How long you been doing it?
Since 1993.
And year after year, storm after storm, you guys are always there.
Because this is our home, too, Vic. Our kids go to school with your kids. We cheer for the same teams. Go Blues!
So support your neighbors. Call Connor Roofing at 314-375-7475 or CONNER roofing.com.
Thanks, Vic.
Missouri's premier boat show returns in 2026 as the St. Louis Boat and Fishing Show comes to America's Center the weekend of February 20th through the 22nd. See world-class fishermen working the latest new lures in the hog trough and see how the live fish react. Ride the mechanical bull, see a live stingray encounter. Plus, stop by the STL Power Sports booth and register to win a new e-bike valued at $3,000. The St. Louis Boat and Fishing Show, America's Center, February 20th through the 22nd.
News, analysis, opinion.
This is called officially the great health care plan.
When the Republicans rubber stamp everything he does, the constraints go away.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Good afternoon. Welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. Where in the world are Tim and Chris today?
Yeah.
We're in Springfield, Missouri. Chris Arps for the Missouri statewide annual Lincoln Days.
At a new hotel. I've been coming to these Lincoln Day events for 25 years. And for all 25 years, they've been at another hotel in Springfield. And it's kind of weird being at a different one, but they've taken care of us real well.
We are at the outstanding Oasis Hotel and Convention Center. Jeff Allen and I could tell you a lot of stories about this Oasis Hotel, but that's a story for another day. Lieutenant Governor David Wassinger just walked by us. We have a very special guest here to kick off the show. We're going to get to him in just a second. Chris, this is a pretty impressive turnout early in the afternoon for Lincoln Days. But it is an election year.
It is an election year, and usually at Lincoln Days, there are a lot of dignitaries, a lot of politicians here, of course. And, of course, the activists are here as well. And during election year, you always want to have people excited. And I kind of feel the electricity and excitement already and for just kicking this thing off.
Definitely indeed. Want to thank our owners, Jeff and Joe. Jeff is actually here helping us herd the cats this afternoon. Jeff Allen of News Talk STL. Chris is here. I'm here. Producer Joey V here. Producer Ethan back in the studio. I want to thank him as well for doing a little extra double duty today. We're live from Lincoln Days in Springfield, Missouri. We got a huge cavalcade of guests that are going to be joining us throughout the afternoon. A lot of elected officials, politicos, pundits, and so much other. Ethan, if you're ready, let's kick things off with our first guest of the afternoon.
Dr. Bob Onder, Congressman for Missouri's 3rd District.
We're calling Dr. Bob. We're calling Dr. Bob. Dr. Bob.
The Congressman for Missouri's 3rd Congressional District, Dr. Bob Onder, here live at Lincoln Days.
I think he likes his theme, too. He's smiling.
I think he does as well. Hey, it's not everybody that gets a theme song, let me tell you. That means you've made it. We're going to talk tariffs. We're going to talk SAVE Act. We're going to talk Schumer shutdowns and more. But, Bob, let me first just welcome you to the program. You and I have been at more Lincoln Days. We've probably forgotten more Lincoln Days that we've been at than we remember.
That is absolutely true. 2006, you and I were elected on the same cycle to the Missouri House of Representatives.
Why is it important for you as a congressman to be here at Missouri Lincoln Days?
Well, as Chris said, this is where the grassroots come. This is all going to be about turnout in November. It is going to be about whose base is motivated to come out and support their vision of America, their vision of what we ought to do to make America great, or in the case of the Democrats, to make America decline. And I think there have been some special elections where Democrats have done surprisingly well. Because they're motivated, they're energized by hatred of President Trump and hatred of what we Republicans in Washington, D.C. are doing. Well, what is it that they hate? They hate that we are looking out for the American people, whereas they are looking out for, to make it very simple, illegal aliens. Just like they shut down the government for 43 days because they wanted to give Medicaid to illegal aliens, they are now shutting down the Department of Homeland Security in order to make it harder to detain and deport illegal aliens. But we are going to continue to look out for the American people, whether it be on energy, on the cost of living, on public safety, immigration. And of course, we saved the American people from a $4 trillion tax increase last summer. But it's just a very important time for everyone to get engaged, and I'm just thrilled to be down here with people.
Congressman, the big story today, of course, is the long-awaited decision by the Supreme Court on the president's tariffs. If you listen to the liberal media, they say that this is a total repudiation of President Trump's policies. But in effect, what this does is says that Congress is the one that puts taxes, is the one that does tariffs. But the president still has tariff ability. Just now he has to do investigations first before he initiates tariffs. Talk more about that.
Yeah, he does. As President Trump pointed out, and I haven't read the decision yet, but he pointed out, the law gives him power to completely shut down trade with a given country. Why doesn't he have power to ratchet down trade in the form of tariffs to a given country? But yes, President Trump will, on a case-by-case basis, have to do the investigation and prove, national security interests. And of course, the Constitution says we in Congress have the power to levy tariffs. So it's going to be a very active discussion. Look, overall, I believe that we should move toward freer or fairer trade, but the key is fair. And the United States has been taken advantage of for so long in international trade agreements that it is really it was really time that we set things aright, and that's what President Trump is doing.
The court did not rule on reimbursing some of these companies for these tariffs, and the 3 dissenting judges said that this could be a bureaucratic nightmare and a mess. How concerned are you with that?
Yeah, well, I completely agree, because ultimately these companies didn't pay the tariffs. They essentially they paid it, but then they passed it on to the middleman. Let's say they are the wholesaler. Sure. They passed it on to the retailer, who passed it on to the consumers. So ultimately, the consumers paid these tariffs. I think the 3 dissenters were right that it would be a nightmare if anyone sought reimbursement. But no, I really don't think that the wholesalers who brought the suit should receive the windfall from this decision.
And Bob, brief follow up. I like you. I haven't read the decision, but on the way down to Springfield today, I was listening to a lot of business and legal experts
Likewise.
analyze the decision, who I respect and I believe are correct. And they were basically saying, for all the leftists and never Trumpers out there who are celebrating this, you've basically now unleashed Trump, because what he was doing was he was trying to operate within a very this legal decision is based on a very surgical analysis of a specific tariff statute.
Yeah.
But as you said, the president actually has broad-ranging powers on licensing issues of
Yes.
allowing countries to do anything
Yes.
in our country, embargo power.
Yes.
And so you've now basically invited him to not do it surgically, but to bring the hammer down. I
Yeah.
don't think Donald Trump will do that. But what your point is valid. All he's trying to do is right the ship of some really unfair trade practices that we've been subjected to.
That's right. And, tariffs themselves are a little bit of a blunt instrument. They're essentially taxes that someone's going to pay, ultimately the consumer. But to look, we want American jobs in America. We want things to be made in America again. And because of just some trade abuses by our trading partners, we have hollowed out American industry. I'm glad President Trump has taken the action he has so far, but I'm also, I will be glad to see, some of these tariffs come down. I think that will improve affordability. I think overall it's going to be a win-win a couple weeks, couple months down the road.
Congressman, the State of the Union address is scheduled for Tuesday, and some of the Democrats have said that they are going to boycott the State of the Union. They're going to have their own event on the Mall with former MSNBC host Joy Reid as the host.
Well, there you
have
go.
any thoughts?
Boy, this is going to be a tough decision. Stay with President Trump in the House chambers, or go see Joy Reid. I don't know. I'm certainly MSNBC will have cover-to-cover coverage of Joy Reid, but and 20 people will see it.
Right.
No, it's an exciting evening. It always is. No one. I think the last president to do the State of the Union address as well was Ronald Reagan. So I really look forward to it. And I have a very special guest at the State of the Union address, Chloe Cole, the very famous detransitioner who has become an incredibly impressive, articulate spokeswoman for the cause of protecting kids from chemical and surgical mutilation by the quacks and groomers in the transgender movement. So that it'll be and we're going to be relaunching the Chloe Cole Act of 2026, and stay tuned. I think you'll hear a lot about it in the coming days.
And an 80 to 90% issue. How bipartisan of you, Congressman. That's excellent.
It is about an 80 to 90% of issue. When you look at the votes in the House, it's not quite that good. But of course, unfortunately, too many Democrats. And you talk to Democrats one-on-one, some of them actually have some sense. But the elected Democrats are so beholden to their really lunatic left base that you can't get them always to vote that way. But I am hoping on this issue that they will do the right thing and we'll have an overwhelming vote in favor of the Chloe Cole Act sometime in the upcoming weeks.
I want to ask you about another 80 to 90% issue, one of the favorite ones of Chris and I, and that's election integrity.
Yes.
You all in the House have passed the SAVE Act, and now you've passed the Save America Act.
Yes.
You've challenged Leader Thune to do something to get this bill passed, and you've said, look, we're not calling. I know you and many of your colleagues have said, look, we're not calling for an end to the filibuster,
right.
But how about let's at least make them put their money where their mouth is, like you had to do back in the Missouri State Senate. And how about let's do a talking filibuster on this? What do you think the prospects of that are?
Yeah, amen. Of course, the Save America Act is about the most fundamental right of Americans in a constitutional republic, which is the right to vote. And if an illegal alien's allowed to vote, he is literally stealing your vote. That is unacceptable. So only American citizens should vote, and with photo ID to ensure integrity of the elections. I think we in the House will do everything we can, if we can't have to force the Senate's hand to say, look, yes, you cannot, this whole business of saying, hey, I'm filibustering, it takes 60 votes to pass anything is ridiculous. Make Elizabeth Warren, make Bernie Sanders stand up and and talk for 10, 20, 30 hours. No, I think we need to get this done. I do believe the Save America Act is literally about saving America, saving our most precious rights. And yeah, I hope we can get that done.
Congressman, I want to make sure I get this right. You have sponsored the Curtailing Agency Reach and Bureaucracy Overreach at Net Zero Act, or Carbon. First of all, did you come up with that yourself? That's very creative.
I had some help.
All right. Tell us about the Carbon Act.
Yeah, we really like our acronyms in the U.S. House of Representatives. Every bill has an acronym like that. So the Carbon Act really addresses just an egregious act of overreach by the EPA, which is to regulate carbon dioxide, which is in the air we breathe, that we exhale carbon with every breath. To regulate it as if it were a pollutant. The 1970 Clean Air Act never anticipated that carbon dioxide would be a pollutant, nor did subsequent revisions, amendments to the Clean Air Act. So it was an act of regulatory overreach to say we can regulate carbon dioxide. So there we can regulate your cars, we can regulate power plant production. So the Trump administration has issued a repeal of the so-called endangerment finding, by which the EPA committed this egregious act of overreach. They have called the repeal of that endangerment finding, or my bill, if you will, the biggest act of deregulation in American history, and I would agree with that assessment. Look, if Congress wants to regulate carbon dioxide, Congress can do so, but having unelected bureaucrats deciding something as important as energy policy, deciding what kind of cars we can drive, what kind of stoves we can have in our home, what kind of power our utilities can generate, that's just ridiculous. It's time to right that wrong once and for all.
Congressman Dr. Bob Onder, our guest here at Statewide Lincoln Days. We are live on location at the Oasis Hotel and Convention Center. Bob, we had cause to celebrate this week in Missouri, specifically in St. Louis. I believe you were able to attend this big announcement whereby Boeing decided they're going to bring back a big chunk of their corporate headquarters, their aerospace headquarters. So we always we complain often about Missouri and St. Louis, but now we can say we're not as crazy as the Commonwealth of Virginia, which just elected Abigail Spanberger, who wants to tax and regulate anything that's moving. I think that had something to do with this decision, but you tell me.
I think it probably did. Look, I think businesses are looking for a pro-business, low tax, low regulation environment. There are some things Missouri could be doing even better, like eliminating the income tax.
Hear, hear.
But compared to states run by lunatic left Democrats, Missouri looks awfully attractive. So, the move of Boeing Defense to the St. Louis area is great news. Obviously, we've been the home to McDonnell Douglas and now Boeing for decades. So this is a huge win, as well, of course, as the F-47 being built in St. Louis. So we're really excited about that.
And I remember when former Congressman Cori Bush was in office, she said defund the Pentagon at one time, forgetting that Boeing is in her district, which was the craziest thing I've heard in my life.
Well, and my good friend Wesley Bell and I do not vote the same way on very much, but I remember when he was running, I said to myself, at least we could have a congressman who is sane and who will look out for the interests of our region and for the state. And I think we do have that in Wesley.
And he supports Israel, too.
He does. Yes, indeed.
Doc, I believe you're heading back up to Washington, D.C. next week. Any end of the Schumer shutdown in sight? What's it going to take to get the full wheels of government back on the railroad tracks?
Yeah, and again, fortunately, we passed 11 out of the 12 appropriation bills, so 95% of the government is funded. But 270,000 Homeland Security employees are going without paychecks. Most of them are deemed essential. But the Democrats have defunded the Coast Guard, defunded TSA, defunded FEMA right after a major winter storm. What I think it's going to take, I think when the TSA workers go without paychecks for a long time, that will interrupt air travel. And when Democrats start hearing from their constituents, I think that's when they'll come to their senses and make sure that the Homeland Security Department is funded.
One quick question for you, and this kind of relates to you personally a little bit. The Potomac River
Yes.
is a mess.
Literally.
How are you dealing with that?
Yeah, we have not. We have not. We've been on the district work week when we heard about the release of, I forget how much raw sewage into the Potomac River. As you all know, the Alice and I live on a boat in the wharf area on the Potomac River, and so yes, raw sewage is not attractive. I hope even the People's Republic of D.C. will deal with that in a timely manner. In the meantime, I won't be doing any skinny dipping in
I'm
the
sure.
Potomac. Yeah.
Joey, executive producer Joey, made sure to put on our show sheet to ask you today about the poo in the Potomac. Just as a little reminder. He's always up to no good.
Yeah.
That's Congressman Dr. Bob Onder kicking things off in high style here at Missouri Statewide Lincoln Days. Bob, thanks so much for swinging by. Appreciate you being here. Appreciate you stopping by, being on the program with us.
Great to be with you guys. Thank you.
Thank you as well. There we go. Great way to kick off Lincoln
Great way
Days.
to kick off the show. Ended with poop and talk about poop at the beginning with the Congress. So perfect.
Many people think there's always poop in the Potomac, right? Up there in Washington, D.C. Indeed, the swamp. All right, when we come back, we're going to bring in Gary Hollis. He's the fairly newly minted Americans for Prosperity State Director for the state of Missouri. I believe he's in his second legislative session now. We're going to talk to Gary about the REINS Act. What the heck's that all about? Will Missourians get an income tax cut and more? Those questions will be answered. Gary Hollis from AFP Mo when we return. The Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show live on the road here in Springfield, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A colder weekend coming our way. A low down to 29 degrees for Saturday morning. Some pockets of flurries or very light snow. We don't expect any impacts, and actually decreasing clouds and turning partly sunny in the afternoon on Saturday with a high of 42 degrees. That's a chilly day, though, and especially since we just had 70 a couple days ago. Sunday's even colder. A high of 36, and it is going to be blustery. So the wind chill about 25 degrees at best during the daytime under mostly sunny skies for Sunday. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
If you have a phone, you have a radio.
Download the all-new News Talk STL app.
Love the all-new News Talk STL app.
On my way to work in the morning.
Usually I'm in the car.
I listen on the app in my car every morning going to work.
Download the News Talk STL app and listen anytime, anywhere.
Hey, let me tell you about a dental practice I just don't recommend. I'm a proud patient. The Dental Link is run by Dr. Alan Link and his son Andrew, and you can really feel the difference the moment you walk in. I've told you many times here, I have dental implants, so this is personal for me. This isn't cosmetic fluff. This is serious dental work. They took the time to explain everything, made sure I was comfortable, and treated me like a person, not a procedure. One thing that really stood out is the staff at the Dental Link. Dr. Link treats his team like family, and you can tell they genuinely enjoy working there, and that shows in how relaxed, professional, and attentive they are with patients. And if you are nervous about implants, here's something important. The Dental Link also offers mini dental implants, a minimally invasive alternative that often means less pain, shorter recovery times, and a reduced risk of complications compared to traditional implants. My implants have been a game changer. They look natural, they feel natural, and gave me back confidence I didn't even realize I'd lost. The Dental Link's Baldwin office is located near 141 in Manchester, and you can reach them at 636-496-8584 or learn more at thedentallink.com. Dentallink.com. Do good, do it well, have fun doing it. That's their motto.
I'm Dr. TJ, owner of the Institute of Natural Health, co-owner of Optimal Nutraceuticals, and the host of Wellness One. Wellness One is designed to cut through the nonsense and provide you common-sense science-based information regarding health and wellness. On the show, we discuss topics like thyroid health, gut health, hormone optimization, and many others. Our show airs Saturdays at 10 a.m. and 2 p.m. and Sundays at 11 a.m. and 3 p.m. right here on Newstalk STL. And you can visit us at inhstl.com. That's inhstl.com.
Hey, Jamie Allman here for my favorite go-to store for seafood, gourmet goodness, and tons of wine. It's Stars, 1135 South Big Bend. A huge selection of seafood flown in from the coast. Lemon sole, halibut, Maryland lump crab, Gulf shrimp, and you gotta try the trout dip. Plus, imported and domestic hand-cut cheeses, lots of hand-picked wines at great prices, hard-to-find gourmet foods, and fresh roasted coffee using only the best quality beans. Stars, 1135 South Big Bend, just off of Highway 40.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stifel. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
427 on the Tim Jones and Chris Arp show. And if you hear a bunch of noise in the background, that means we're not in the studio. We are in Springfield at the beautiful Oasis Hotel. It is Lincoln Days 2026. And Tim, I can feel the electricity. A lot of people are starting to show up here.
There's herds of people walking past us. Chris, this is an early crowd.
It is.
And I'm impressed, and I'm excited, and I'm energized, like you were talking earlier, about the fact that the base, and hopefully the base brought some friends, and they're ready to rock and roll for election year 2026. We've got a lot of stuff we're going to have on the ballot, a lot of important decisions to make, and we'll continue our conversations with all the people that are going to be helping make it happen.
And if you are starstruck by politicians and dignitaries, this is the place to be, because congressmen and state reps and state senators are walking right past us saying hello to us. So it's a great time here in Lincoln Days 2026. At the table with us is Gary Hollis from Americans for Prosperity. Gary, thank you for joining us again.
Good afternoon. Thanks for having me.
Gary was with us when we did the beginning of the session show in January.
Man, doesn't that feel like
it does?
That feels like forever.
It feels
ago.
like
either forever or 5 minutes ago. Yeah,
it feels like it was like 4 or 5 months ago.
Yeah.
All right, Americans for Prosperity. I want to dive right into something that we talked about at the end of our interview, and that's these driverless cars. I told you that I am not convinced yet that I know this is probably the technology of the future. I'm still not convinced yet. I did see something in the news today that Mothers Against Drunk Driving, they have endorsed these driverless cars, and this is probably no surprise. The Teamsters and semi-truck drivers are not in favor of driverless cars. Give us your thoughts on that and convince me that these are safe.
Correct. Yeah, the unions have come out in full force against allowing Waymo into Missouri. But I think I can convince you with one sentence that driverless cars are safer, and that's to tell you that I hear the trial lawyers are opposed to it. It's they're worried about their lawsuits drying up. So I think that tells you right now that they're pretty safe. There you go.
Gary, you and your team that includes Camelia Peterson and a lot of other great folks at AFP Missouri you're involved in a lot of battles at the Capitol this year. One of the biggest battles is the governor's call to eliminate the income tax. So many of our great conservative friends like Ben Keithley and Ben Brown and Nick Schroer and Darren Chappell and others, I know they're getting in the devil in the details there, and they're making the sausage. From what you're hearing, are you hopeful that this effort continues? And why would it be important for Missouri to eliminate its income tax?
Yes, I'm very hopeful. Some people are a little concerned. They seem to think it's taken too long for the bill, but I disagree. I think that we should have vibrant discussions on these because it's important to get it right. There's plenty of time left in session. We go all the way through May. I think we're going to see a final version of the bill here in a couple weeks, and I'm really excited to see what they come up with. As you mentioned, a lot of great people are working on this, and some others that are from the Springfield area working on it are Alex Riley, also
the majority leader.
Yeah, our floor leader, and of course Speaker Patterson is carrying the bill, and Bishop Davidson down in Republic is very involved in writing it. So there's a lot of great minds behind this, and they're working really hard to come up with the best bill possible. And to answer your last question, it's extremely important that we continue moving towards zero because all of our neighbors are. I see every day what Arkansas is posting. They're going to be one of the latest states trying to do this. And Missouri cannot fall behind if we want to grow economically. We want to have jobs of the future. If we want to return more money to taxpayers and families to spend better than government, we need to do this.
Speaking with Gary Hollis from Americans for Prosperity, AFPMissouri.com. Gary, we had David Stokes from the Show Me Institute on earlier in the week, his usual Tuesday segment. He wrote an op-ed in favor of eliminating the payroll tax or the income tax. And the genesis of his, the gist, excuse me, of his article was that this is not the same as what happened in Kansas. We know that the Kansas income tax ended up being a disaster for their budget. Can you tell us the differences between what Kansas did and what this bill does, and people that may have fears that we may be traveling down that same road, why it's not that?
Well, it's hard to tell the differences. We haven't seen the final bill yet,
Okay.
but I can assure you that being this close to Kansas and a state that competes with Kansas and everything, that the people writing this bill have learned the lessons of Kansas, and I think they're looking more towards states like Tennessee and other states that have done this the right way to model their legislation after.
Gary Hollis, our guest here this afternoon, Americans for Prosperity. Gary, I know another one of your top priorities that you've been working on for many years, and AFP is working on this nationwide, and they're even working on this on the federal level, believe it or not, is the RAINS Act. That's an acronym. You can explain to our listeners what the heck it means. And why don't you do that, and then tell us what will it do if it's passed?
Yes, so the RAINS Act is basically an effort to rein in the regulatory state in Missouri and then nationally, as you mentioned, on the federal level. What it does is if there is an economic impact of a certain threshold, it returns the decision back to the legislature. So the idea behind it is that the people that the viewers elected should have the final say in costly regulations that impact their family, that impact their business, not unnamed bureaucrats that nobody voted for. So we're very optimistic about this bill. It's sponsored by Ben Keithley in the St. Louis area and also Senator Mary Elizabeth Coleman. It's moving in both the House and the Senate, and we're very optimistic that hopefully we can get this done this year.
Excellent.
As you know, Mr. Speaker, Tim was a big proponent of educational reform when he is in the House. Too many of our kids are trapped in school districts because of their zip code instead of going to the school that better fits them. How is AFP working to do educational reform so these children and these parents have more choice?
Well, first of all, we support Governor Kehoe's efforts to add another $10 million to the Most Scholars program for low-income students who are trying to get out of their failed schools. We hope that the legislature will pass that and add on to the $50 million that they had last year. In addition to that, there's an open enrollment bill. We'll see where that goes. That's always, for whatever reason, a tough one. But we think it makes sense. Parents should be able to take their child to any public school of their choice. And it shouldn't be controversial. Some people work in a different area. They want to be able to take their kids to school where they work and so forth. And they should have the right to do that. It's the parents' money, and they should be able to go where they want.
And Gary, dispel the myth that these school choice programs, like the Education Savings Account, the Most Scholars program, it's called, dispel the myth that those programs are going to destroy public education as we know it. Won't that actually force public education to actually compete for once and be better?
Yes. First of all, public schools have record funding. So any notion that their budgets are being slashed is just simply inaccurate. And as you said, competition is good for everyone. When schools compete against each other, the winners are students and the winners are families. And then ultimately the state of Missouri that is trying to develop a workforce. Competition breeds success. It's good for everyone.
You know, it's been a while since I've looked up these figures, but talk about school funding. St. Louis City spends like 16,000 per student. Kansas City, similar amounts. What are they spending this money on and getting such a poor result?
Yeah, that's a very good question. And I think when you look at some of these districts around the state, particularly in the cities that you mentioned, you're going to see administrators that are very top heavy salaries. The money is not going to the classroom where it needs to be. It's going to administrators that frankly are not doing their job. And I think back to the competition, I think if you have more competition, these schools are going to have their feet to the fire a little bit more, and these districts are going to be forced to do their jobs.
Gary, it's an election year, and Americans for Prosperity has different organizations. You all have public policy organizations that work on the public policy side and the advocacy side. And you also have action. You have electoral action sides, and you're all not afraid of getting involved in campaigns. So what's with there's only one statewide office up for election this year. So what are you all going to be focusing on in election year 2026 here in Missouri?
Well, we're going to be focusing primarily on looking at particularly these open seats around the state, open House seats, open Senate seats, and trying to get the right conservatives elected. In so many parts of the state, the election is decided in the primary. And that is one thing that is unique about AFP is the party kind of waits to see who their party nominee is and everybody gets behind them. But in so many of these races, the election's over at that point because it's just obvious who's going to be the winner, whoever comes out of these primaries. So we like to get involved in primaries. We like to find the most conservative candidate and get behind them. And also, we'll also defend some of our incumbents around the state who have done a great job up in Jefferson City. So many people do the wrong thing when they get into office, so we really try hard to reward the ones who do the right thing. So we will be getting behind some of our incumbents that have been there for us.
And what do you do in elections? Do you do fundraise? Do you do expenditures? Do you knock doors? Do you do all the above?
I think the biggest value we bring to most of our candidates is grassroots and door knocking. We have a great door knocking capability. We're door knocking right now for the income tax, for example, all around the state. And we're also still doing some thank yous for some of our legislative friends. I believe we've knocked about 18,000 doors this month in February, and where it's still kind of cold out. So we're hoping to accelerate those numbers even further as we get closer to the election and turn voters out for our candidates.
Speaking with Gary Hollis from Americans for Prosperity, AFPMissouri.com. We talked at the beginning of the show about driverless cars. What other issues outside of taxes and education reform and regulatory reform is AFP Missouri involved in the state?
We're always looking for ways to cut the bureaucracy, cut regulations on business. We're also get involved in free speech issues and things like that. We helped with Senator Hudson pass a bill last year that was freedom of association for our college students around the state. And we're hoping to get a similar bill done this year for high school students. We believe that our students should have free speech on campus, whether it's high school, whether it's college, no matter where they go. Freedom of speech is in our Constitution, and I don't think those rights end for our students when they go to class.
Does that freedom of speech mean when the students are walking out of class because they're protesting ICE? Are you guys in favor of that?
Well, I think administrators have a right to come up with any disciplinary action for not attending school, but they certainly have a right to express themselves. Outside of those.
Sorry to throw you that curve.
Oh no, that's fine.
Gary, one of the things you all do is you're not just a top-down organization. I know for a fact that you all get involved on the very granular grassroots level. Last year, in fact, you were all kind of ahead of the curve on preparing legislators for this discussion about eliminating the income tax. I believe you went all over the state with a couple of our legislative leaders who were really well versed in this issue, and you had tons of forums and you had Democrats, Republicans, independents show up at these. Talk about those efforts and also about how people can get involved if they're like, because Chris and I get asked all the time, how do I get involved in politics? What do I do? Talk about a little bit of that part of AFP.
Yes, we did a statewide tour last year to kind of just feel people out on phasing out the income tax. And as you said, Democrats, Republicans, independents, people of all walks came out to our events. And some of the very people who are writing the bill now were listening to the public at our events. And I think they're taking some of those ideas that they heard last year and they're implementing them in the bill. We do events all over the state. You all can go to afpmissouri.com and you can see any events that we have coming up in your area. We very much like to bring legislators to the citizens, to the public, bring legislators out to talk about what they're doing in Jefferson City and allow them to hear feedback from the constituents.
Gary, you mentioned that so far, beginning of the year, you've walked 18,000 doors. Not you personally, of course, but
No, definitely not.
Volunteers do that. Where do you get your volunteers to do that? And as we close up here, how can people, if they want to get involved with AFP and walk doors and volunteer and do other things, how can they do that?
Yes, if you're interested in getting involved, our email is info@afphq.org. We get volunteers from all over, a lot of seniors that want to be involved. They care about the future that they're going to leave behind. We have homeschoolers, great homeschool networks around the state that like to get involved. People from all different walks of life help us. And so anyone is welcome if they want to come out and make a difference and try to help us get behind conservative policy and elect conservative legislators.
That's Gary Hollis from Americans for Prosperity, AFPMissouri.com. Thank you, my friend, and have a great weekend this weekend.
Thank you, gentlemen. You as well.
Thank you, Gary.
And I see him. He's coming up next. We're going to talk with Peter Kinder, chairman of the Missouri GOP, and of course, he's a former lieutenant governor. I'm proud to also call him an old friend. We're going to speak with him about ibogaine and what should people expect here at the 2026 Lincoln Days in Springfield, at, as Tim likes to say, the beautiful Oasis Hotel. You're listening
Indeed.
to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A colder weekend coming our way. A low down to 29 degrees for Saturday morning. Some pockets of flurries or very light snow. We don't expect any impacts, and actually decreasing clouds and turning partly sunny in the afternoon on Saturday with a high of 42 degrees. That's a chilly day, though, and especially since we just had 70 a couple days ago. Sunday's even colder. A high of 36, and it is going to be blustery. So the wind chill about 25 degrees at best during the daytime under mostly sunny skies for Sunday. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
On the next, Larry Connors, USA.
Today's story behind the story, why actor Robert Duvall refused to make Godfather 3.
Larry Connors, USA. Now, weeknights 6 until 8 on News Talk STL.
Happy to talk about Hanson's here on a fantastic Friday. Beautiful day. It's going to, like you heard there from Steve Templeton there, going to be a little blustery. We've got a little reminder we're still in winter, but we've also had a reminder we're heading towards spring. And if you've been out and about your homestead, your business, and seen that Mother Nature has done a little bit of wreckage over the winter, I want you to get a hold of Hanson's. They're at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com. What do they do? Just about everything regarding tree care. Expert insured tree care, a variety of services, green resource recycling, grinding and land clearing, and so much more. When you go to hansonstree.com, you'll see that you can order mulch online. Top of the page there. Hassle-free estimates are available. 6 months, same as cash financing to approved clients and customers. Make payments. Check out all their other resources, the other stuff they do, and so much more. Now, Hanson's services all of eastern Missouri, and now you can find them at the Lake of the Ozarks as well. Yeah, they're happy to take care of your lake lot or your little bungalow, your little beach bungalow there, or your McMansion, whatever you got at the lake. Chad and the gang are happy to take care of that as well. Don't be getting up on ladders with saws in one hand and weed eaters in the other. Get the experts at Hanson's. They got all the big boy, big girl toys that take care of that and so much more. Hanson's Tree, available 24/7. There is an emergency service line. It's at hansonstree.com. That's the daily business line as well. It's all at hansonstree.com. That's hansonstree.com.
Looking for a hardware store that treats you like family? Welcome to True Value Schneider's Hardware, your local gem in Old Town St. Peters. For over 100 years, we're proudly serve you St. Charles County, providing everything from lawn and garden supplies to plumbing and electrical. Need a bolt or fastener? We've got you covered. And don't forget, we're a steel dealership. Whether you need sales, parts, or service, ask for Charlie or Jerry when you come in. We're here to help. Call 636-278-4461 or visit us online at truevalue.com/Schneiders.
This is Tony Colombo, and my favorite Capriati sandwich is the cheesesteak made with American Wagyu beef from Snake River Farms, and you have to include a side of their amazing fries. I love Capriati's, and you will too.
Open 9 to 9 daily on Manchester at McKnight in Rock Hill.
Rhino Shield is engineered to outlast paint, formulated to outsmart the elements. Rain or shine, sleet or snow, mold or mildew. Our home exterior coatings intelligently designed to stand up to Mother Nature. Call 877-25-RHINO or 877-25rhino.com.
This hour of Jones and Arps is brought to you by Stiefel. Contact your Stiefel financial advisor at stiefel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
.445, and welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. We are in beautiful Springfield at the Oasis Hotel, and it's Lincoln Days 2026, Tim.
It is. Can you believe it's another year? It feels like just the other day we were broadcasting from the Sheraton Westport in St. Louis, right by our studio, and here we are. This is the third year, I believe, we've done this. Kansas City, St. Louis, Springfield. So I guess we're going back to KC next year.
I think we should be the official station of Lincoln Days. And I think we've got the man right here at the table
He can
that
make
can
it
make
happen.
that happen.
Mm-hmm.
We're speaking with Peter Kinder, chairman of the Missouri GOP and former lieutenant governor. We also have Ethan Thampy with Missourians for ibogaine. Gentlemen, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. All right. First of all, before we get into talking about Ibogaine, it's Lincoln Days 2026. I think I've been to about going to these for the last 25 years. Folks that maybe aren't familiar with Lincoln Days, tell them what it is and what should they expect this weekend.
Lincoln Days is an annual gathering in February, the month of Lincoln's birth, that dates back to the early part of the 1900s. So it's 120 years old, something like that. And it has brought together Republicans from across our beautiful state of Missouri. And it rotates, as you indicated, between Springfield, Kansas City, and St. Louis. And we're delighted to be back in beautiful Southwest Missouri for this event. We'll have over 300 people each night for major speakers. Our great office holders, our 2 U.S. senators will be here at some part of the weekend, as will Governor Kehoe. Tomorrow evening, in addition to all our other 5 state constitutional offices and many members of the General Assembly, tomorrow night we'll have luminary in Senator Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma, who folks have seen a lot of on Fox News and other conservative media. He's a great young senator, and we're excited to have him.
Excellent.
Governor, I ran into you this afternoon on our way down to Springfield at our favorite location down here, the brand new Buc-ee's at the Stratford exit. Governor, you and I have been coming in and or out of Springfield for, I hate to say, a couple decades now, but this area of the state has really grown and continues to do so. Talk about that and why Southwest Missouri just seems to be crushing it here in Missouri.
Well, there's just a can-do attitude down here, pro-business, welcoming to investment, hardworking people who you can count on to show up and do a day's work for a day's pay. And you're right, Greene County and what I call Greater Springfield, to include Christian County and all the surrounding areas in all directions, has just seen tremendous growth. You can almost think of it as Missouri's Sun Belt growth. That extends also to Joplin. Trucking industry is a huge deal in Joplin and Springfield along I-44. Enormous investment in employment. Healthcare is big here in these 2 cities. And we have the lakes. We have Branson. We have 8 million, 9 million visitors a year to Branson, a town of 7,000 people. And what's not to like about Branson, Big Cedar, and all the assets, World's Wildlife we have down here, Bass Pro, the world headquarters of Bass Pro, and there's a lot going on here.
Indeed.
Mr. Chairman, you mentioned last year that this was not an office that you thought that you would be holding as chairman of the Missouri Republican Party, but I think that you are an excellent choice. One, because you have traditionally been known as a Republican that can gain black and other minority votes. You're very good at that. Tell us how you did that and what's the plan for the party to expand on your success.
Well, what did Woody Allen say? 80% of life is showing up.
Right.
I tried to show up, and a lot of people said it was a fool's errand, but there were 2 times when I was the only survivor on the Republican ticket statewide, 08 and 12. So it met with some success, some limited success, but measurable. And so I would encourage all our candidates to do that. I would say the guy who's showing the way now in statewide office is Governor Kehoe. He's shown up a lot in North St. Louis throughout his campaign and since he's been governor.
And he has roots there.
He has roots there. He grew up in some of the tough neighborhood. And so Mike Kehoe has picked up that torch and shown the way for all our office holders, I think.
Yeah, you taught me that. You taught me that, Chairman, about showing up. You were one of my mentors, and showing up and being present is so important in this political world. It really is. I want to bring Epan Thampi into the conversation here, a man who also wears many hats, but they all involve around freedom and liberty and expanding people's choices and opportunities. Epan, I saw somewhere in one of the political journals or online publications that the Ibogaine bill was making some progress over the last couple of weeks. Tell us once again, remind our listeners, what the heck is Ibogaine? What can it do for Missourians? And where is the legislation currently?
Well, we had a great hearing Tuesday in the House Emerging Issues Committee. Actually, Tuesday. Ibogaine is a powerful therapeutic derived from the bark of a tree in West Africa, from Gabon. Has the ability to create extreme periods of neurogenesis and neuroplasticity, which is really rejuvenative of the brain, and it helps heal a lot of traumas and issues tied to brain damage. Peter and I were at the Americans for Ibogaine conference in Aspen this past November. Peter, you want to talk about that?
It was one of the most impressive conferences I've ever been to. Like you, Mr. Speaker, I've been to a few. and I'm not easily impressed, I would say, by speakers. The spark plug behind Americans for Ibogaine is a lawyer, he happens to be a lawyer from Eastern Kentucky, and boy, does he have a solid Kentucky accent, named Brian Hubbard. And he is enormously impressive with the passion he brings to this. And he's been able to recruit so many star supporters, including the longest serving governor of Texas ever, Rick Perry, who is a marquee spokesman for this cause. And Rick Perry and I go back to when we were both in office. I got to know him pretty well, and we renewed that acquaintance out there. It's bipartisan, by the way. Former Arizona Senator Kirsten Sinema was there to support the cause. And what was really impressive was the former Navy SEALs, the other war fighters who went through terrible PTSD after their service ended. The first responders in the same category, serious PTSD issues. The former NFL players with TBI, traumatic brain injury. And they all swear by Ibogaine treatment. So it was very persuasive. We have a lot more to learn. We need to do clinical trials, and that's why we're supporting the bill that Epan and I have been supporting in the House. And we're coming up on a companion bill in the Senate to be pushed also.
Excellent.
And that was one of the things that I was going to mention, that there are a lot of notables have been talking about Ibogaine. Senator Rick Perry, or former Governor Rick Perry, and now Governor Kinder involved as well. What kind of efforts are you going to be doing to get more awareness out about Ibogaine?
Well, this morning I had a meeting in Kansas City with a gentleman named Michael Delaney, who is retired KCPD. He was on the SWAT team. He was shot 3 times during his period of service, and the third time was very debilitating. Created a lot of issues for him, and his issue that manifested most was alcoholism. And in law enforcement, especially in Kansas City, the number one reason for early retirement is alcoholism, right? Alcohol becomes a coping mechanism for those who have survived service-related trauma, and so being able to present these folks with a therapy that is restorative, that is rejuvenative, that can potentially heal you from PTSD or other mental trauma or anguish related to service is really a groundbreaking proposition. We had Representative Richard West from St. Charles and Representative Matthew Overcast from Ava, who's here today. Both filed the Ibogaine bill in the House, and we had a great hearing on it this past week. My friend Walt Disney, a retired Navy SEAL from Kansas City.
That's his real name?
He's a descendant of the more famous Walt Disney.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. And we've got Senator Jason Bean from the Boot Heel from Cape Girardeau, who's got the companion bill in the Senate, and we're hoping to move it forward this session.
Now, wait a minute, Epan. He'd be very upset if you said he was from Cape Girardeau. He's from Dunklin County.
That's right. That's right.
Down, might as well be in Arkansas almost.
Speaking with Peter Kinder, former Lieutenant Governor, current Chairman of the Missouri Republican Party, and Epan Thampy as well. Mr. Chairman, we may have, in addition to our one statewide office holder running for re-election this year, Auditor Scott Fitzpatrick, Missourians could see up to 3 major ballot propositions. The governor has asked for the legislature to put a mandate on the ballot for the people to consider eliminating our income tax. We have the new and improved Amendment 3 to hopefully save as many babies as possible and children from gender ideology, and a proposition to cut off this effort of left-wing billionaires to constantly be messing with the Missouri Constitution. How important would all 3 of those choices be for Missourians this year?
They're indispensable. They're very important for Missourians to tune in. Amendment 3 is very important to support. It's yes on Amendment 3 this year for conservatives and believers in the life of the right to life of the innocent unborn. We've got to restore that in our Constitution, and I believe we will. The income tax debate is a debate we need to have, and we need to move in this direction in order to be competitive with states like Texas, Florida, Tennessee. I don't know how many listeners have been to Nashville in the last 5 years, but when you go there, first of all, it costs $350 a night to get a hotel room in a Hampton Inn. Secondly, there are cranes everywhere. There are Missourians moving there. We need to move Missouri to where we are competitive. And that's a big part of Governor Kehoe's agenda.
That is Chairman of the Missouri Republican Party, Peter Kinder, with Ethan Thampy for Missourians for Ibogaine. Gentlemen, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
And I'm sure we'll see you plenty of times during the week.
Okay.
All right,
Thank you, gentlemen.
456. We've got a huge show coming up.
Yes, we do.
Speaker Stump Speech. We're going to have Tim.
We're going to have a good friend of mine, Chris, that you're going to be excited to meet as well. He's the former Speaker of the great state of Mississippi, served in that role for about 10 years. They don't have term limits there. And little birdie told me he may be running for governor of Mississippi. He cut the income tax dramatically in Mississippi, and he can tell us, Chris, that the sky will not fall if we do it here.
And that's Philip Gum, former Speaker of the House for Mississippi. We're going to also have Elijah Haar. He's a former Missouri Speaker as well. He will be the MC for tonight's dinner. And tentative, we may have Senator Eric Schmidt if his plane lands on time. Hopefully, we can have him on. You're listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL from beautiful Springfield, Missouri.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon. JC's Wayback Machine.
This week we dig into the archives for the lead singer of the song Vehicle, and who's written songs for 38 Special, Skinner, and Cheap Trick, and who co-wrote Eye of the Tiger, the great Jim Peterick. And we'll remember Harry Carey, who left us 28 years ago this week. All brought to you by the Weber Automotive Group.
It's JC's Wayback Machine. Every Saturday night, 6 to 9. On News Talk STL.
Is your portfolio prepared for the biggest risks facing investors today? Hi, it's Tim Jones. High inflation and a rapidly changing economy may impact your investments. If you haven't made appropriate changes, your portfolio may not be positioned to address some of the biggest risks in today's economy. That means it's time to request your free portfolio review from the ClearPath Wealth Management Group at Stifel. You can hear their latest views on the markets and investing during On the Money, hosted by Stifel financial advisors Bob Stockdale and Eric Robert, every Saturday morning at 9 a.m. on News Talk STL 101.9. They can help you get organized, guide you through critical retirement decisions, and create a portfolio designed around your needs. To schedule your free portfolio review, go to clearpathinvesting.com. That's clearpathinvesting.com, or call 636-695-2650. That's clearpathinvesting.com, 636-695-2650. Stifel Nicholas & Company, Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE.
A Disney cruise is no ordinary vacation. It's an adventure, a fairy tale, a dream. Step aboard and discover where favorite Disney characters meet fun for the whole family, where total rest and relaxation meet the ultimate escape and excitement, where a dream vacation meets a magical cruise. Only on Disney Cruise Line, where magic meets the sea.
Magic Expeditions will make planning your Disney cruise easy. Reach out at magicexpeditions.com.
KLGY HD3 Clayton, K270BW Bellefonte, KNBS Bowling Green. This is News Talk STL at 101.9, 94.1, and always streaming at newstalkstl.com.
News this hour from Town Hall. I'm Keith Peters in Washington. The Supreme Court has struck down President Donald Trump's far-reaching global tariffs, handing him a significant legal setback on an issue crucial to his economic agenda. Correspondent Mark Sherman reports.
In the majority were Chief Justice John Roberts, as well as two justices that Trump himself appointed in his first term, Justices Neil Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett. The court's three liberal justices were also part of the majority. The court did not address how or whether any of the money collected so far, which is roughly $130 billion according to federal data through December, whether any of that would have to be refunded, and if so, how.
Police searched the former home of Andrew Mountbatten Windsor again on Friday, a day after he was arrested. In a Sky News interview, legal expert Joshua Rosenberg says investigators appear to be looking for evidence beyond the Epstein emails that Andrew improperly shared confidential information during his years as a trade envoy for the UK.
He might say his duty was to ensure that the trading position of the United Kingdom was enhanced by what he was doing, and it was really up to him to judge when to pass on information to people in order to generate trade. It also has to be done to such a degree as to amount to an abuse of the public's trust in the office holder. How does one define the level of public trust required, and of course without reasonable excuse or justification? So that's a defense that he could put. He could say he was acting reasonably.
On Wall Street today, the Dow Jones Industrial Average up by 230 points. The Nasdaq Composite Index rose by 203, with the S&P 500 advancing by 47. More at Town Hall.
Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too. Newsmax, you like Newsmax. I like it too.
It's true. Millions of Americans agree with President Trump, and they're switching to Newsmax. They're watching great shows with Greta, Carl Higbie, Rob Schmidt, Finnerty, and more. If you're tired of big media, start watching Newsmax. It's free to start. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com for immediate access. Get all of President Trump's most important events live. Imagine watching Mike Huckabee's Israel Report, our Melania documentary, Clint Eastwood, Charlie Kirk specials, even the movie Jesus of Nazareth by Franco Zeffirelli. Once you start Newsmax Plus, you won't stop. So try it for free. Go to NewsmaxPlus.com, then download the app. It's easy. So make the switch to Newsmax Plus today.
From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A colder weekend coming our way. A low down to 29 degrees for Saturday morning. Some pockets of flurries or very light snow. We don't expect any impacts, and actually decreasing clouds and turning partly sunny in the afternoon on Saturday with a high of 42 degrees. That's a chilly day, though, and especially since we just had 70 a couple days ago. Sunday's even colder. A high of 36, and it is going to be blustery. So the wind chill about 25 degrees at best during the daytime under mostly sunny skies for Sunday. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This hour of News Talk STL is brought to you by Stifel, serving investors for over 130 years. Contact your Stifel financial advisor at stifel.com. That's STIFEL.com.
License number GL250000615.
Hey, it's good to see you.
Two sounds that can wreck your sleep: a drip and a toilet that won't stop running.
Drip, drip, all night.
Good news. We're doing plumbing now. Same folks, same care, same we do it right.
Leaky faucet, running toilet,
or a stubborn clog, call Grasser.
Electric and plumbing, the Grasser way.
Green is always Grasser at GrasserHomeServices.com.
Hey, it's Susie Moore. If new flooring makes you think hassle, think again, because Michaels Flooring is changing the game. For over 30 years, Michaels has been locally owned and trusted for quality, variety, and amazing service. Whether it's carpet, hardwood, laminate, luxury vinyl, or ceramic tile, their expert team makes installing new floors exciting, not stressful. That's why customers keep coming back. Visit Michaels Flooring at St. Peter's, Starting Prairie, Creve Coeur, or online at igotfloored.com. That's igotfloored.com.
Number one for live and local conservative talk.
Enough. No drugs, no theft, none of that. Get all of that out of the country. The Democrat Party is gone. It hates the country. It hates the Constitution.
101.9 and 94.1 News Talk STL. Tim Jones and Chris Arps in the afternoon.
The 9 most terrifying words in the English language are, I'm from the government and I'm here to help.
The more you remove voting from Election Day, the more opportunity you're offering for people to commit fraud.
Are you not entertained? Are you not entertained?
I think the Democrats are so short-sighted in this tactic they have now to just cheat at any cost to win elections.
You're a lying dog-faced pony soldier. You said you were, but now you got to be honest. I'm going to be honest with you.
What are we doing wrong here?
As a former leader in the House, I think you can put your finger on it. It's called leadership. We don't have it.
Tim Jones and Chris Arps.
Good afternoon. Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show. We're live on location in Springfield, Missouri for the 2026 statewide Lincoln Days. Chris, the place is we're not just saying this, folks, just to make everybody feel better. Place is packed this afternoon.
It is. This is our third one, and we're usually here at the beginning of registration, and this is the busiest I've seen of the 3 Lincoln Days that we've been so far. It's hopping.
Mm-hmm. It truly is. People are excited about 2026. We got special guests from all over the region and, dare I say, all across the United States of America, and we're going to bring in one of those in just a second. I do need, in case my mom and dad are listening back home in the St. Louis region, I want to give a big shout out to my dad. I always think of my dad when I'm down here because my father was born in these parts. He was born in a hospital here in Springfield, Missouri, way back in the day. He grew up about, Lockwood is about 50 minutes from here. You go down the road, Chris, you make a right at the big tree, and you keep going into the hinterlands. Dad grew up in a place where he said they harvested rocks out of the southwest Missouri soil. They had cattle. They had a lot of row crop, a lot of soybeans, things of that sort. My dad took me down here often. I've been down here a million times to this area, and we'd go down to Grandma Jones's and work the farm. I did that a lot in my 20s and 30s. Dad said, this is why I want you to go to law school, because this is hard work. And he's a veterinarian. He worked his butt off, too. So, Dad, I'm happy to be back in Springfield, land of your birth. Things are good down here today. And, Chris, we have another very special guest joining us this afternoon. We're going to have this is speaker hour here. We're going to have 2 speakers join us this afternoon. First, we're going to have my very good friend, former Speaker of the Mississippi House, Philip Gunn. Philip, great to have you here today. I know it's a little chilly here for you Mississippi guys, but you're kind of a tough guy.
Golly, it's cold. I left Jackson, Mississippi. It was 85 degrees. Oh, wow. I rolled in here. It's 40. I don't think I brought enough clothes.
we got stores here. We can.
Oh,
you
yeah,
can spend
there's
some
a store
money.
here that'll sell some clothes. I've heard.
We'll take you down to Bass Pro Shop.
I may go down there and see if they got anything I need to buy.
There we go. Well, Mr. Speaker,
thanks for having me.
Yeah, happy
to
have
be
you
on this show. I've heard a lot about it, and you're right.
You have. He has. Wow.
This place is packed. You're right. You can feel the energy here. People walking up and down the halls, and a lot of enthusiasm. I noticed as I drove in, a lot of signs for different candidates, and one about phasing out the income tax. Why do y'all want to do that?
Well, part of the reason why, because we want to have all the states around us, a lot of them have eliminated their income tax. We had the former chairman of our party, Peter Kinder, talking about Memphis, and a lot of cranes, a lot of growth. You don't see that in St. Louis and in Kansas City as much. So that's part of the reason.
I understand.
And Mr. Speaker, you were at the forefront. You and I talked way back in the day when we were both in office, and then you kept going for a while, and you were like, you in Missouri, you're cutting this income tax, which we were back at the time, and then lo and behold, you took my great idea, and you guys got ahead of us in Mississippi, didn't you? How'd you do that?
That's why I'm saying, why do y'all want to catch up with us? Keep your taxes high. Y'all keep your taxes high so people will come to Mississippi instead. That's what we need.
So what's your plan look like now?
Well, it's just a passion I had. I got elected way back in 2004, I guess, to the House of Representatives. And then in 2012 was privileged to be elected as Speaker. And I just have always had an idea, a belief that lowering the personal income tax is a good thing for the citizens of the state. There's a lot of advantages to that. Puts more money in their pockets. When people have more money, they spend it. That causes the economic engines to turn over. Mm-hmm. They have more to give to charity, more to give to their church. They can provide better for their families. There's just no downside to eliminating the income tax. And so we set out on a course to do that in the last term of my speakership, and we're able to get the largest tax cut in the history of our state, largest personal income tax cut in the history of our state before I left office. And we went to a flat tax, got away from the progressive tax, did it all through growth, and laid the foundation for what happened last year in the Mississippi legislature, which was a plan to fully phase out the income tax over a period of years. So we're on a path now to get rid of the personal income tax in Mississippi, which makes us more attractive to the young people as they start their careers. We struggle keeping our young people in Mississippi. It gives them another reason to stay, makes us more attractive to jobs and industry. And some of the businesses I've talked to, I've told them, I said, we had a 5% income tax. We've eliminated that. That's like giving your employees a 5% raise, and it doesn't even come out of your pocket. They just gave able to keep 5% more of their money. So I don't know that there's a downside to eliminating the income tax, and that's what led us to make it happen in Mississippi.
Fantastic.
What was your response to the critics? Because we're hearing them here that you lower the income tax or you eliminate it, you're going to blow a big giant hole in the budget. Services are going to be cut. People are going to be jumping out of 20.
That's just a false. That's a red herring. That's a red herring. That has not happened in Mississippi. In fact, ever since we started down this path, we've actually had more revenue, and you just have more growth. And I will say this: it does depend on how you do it. Now, state of Kansas, your next door neighbor did it, and they just lopped off the income tax, but they didn't change their spending habits. You've got to control your spending. And in Mississippi, when the Republicans took over, we made a pledge that we would stay within our means. We would never spend more money than we collected. And a phase out was the way, and every state's different. Let's keep that in mind. Mississippi is the poorest state in the country. So we had to be calculating on how we did this. But we did it through growth. And we had some triggers. The best plan that I liked, which I didn't get past, was one that had triggers in it. And we looked back and looked. For the previous 10 years, our state, our economy had grown 3.2% every year. On average, 3.2%. So we capped spending is what we called it. We said each year we project we're going to have 3% growth. We're going to take the first 1.5% and let that go back into the budget. And then whatever's above that, we use that to buy down the income tax. And if we don't grow 1.5%, then that year we don't buy down the income tax. But that way you take it all out of growth. And so you're not cutting services. You're not running a deficit. You're basically just buying down your income tax through monies that you're already collecting or through sales taxes and growth like that. So it was a very careful, calculated way to phase it out. And we're in the midst of doing that now. But if you do it that way, then you don't run deficits. You don't run short of money. You just cap spending and say, all we're going to grow government by is 1.5%. And everything above that, we're going to give back to the taxpayer.
Speaking to former Mississippi Speaker Philip Gunn, we're here at statewide Lincoln Days. Another speaker. There's another speaker right here, another Missouri speaker. We're surrounded by speakers here. There must be a convention.
Hey, Elijah, Philip Gunn. Good to see you again.
Speaker, you mentioned that Mississippi are many times under a lot of metrics comes in as the poorest state in the union. And, you know, that's resulted in y'all being the butt of jokes and stuff over the last few years. But I'm here to tell you, I've been in Mississippi recently, especially northern Mississippi, heading down to Jackson. I've seen the growth firsthand. And I know your governor, Tate Reeves, is very proud to talk about all that investment, which you helped with as well. I read a story the other day about the Mississippi Miracle regarding public education. So Mississippi, we're not going to be able to make fun of Mississippi much longer, are you? You guys are moving and shaking. I mean, you're making a huge change.
We are very proud of the progress we've made over the last 12 years. I tell people Mississippi, the Mississippi House of Representatives was under Democratic control from 1876 till 2012.
Wow.
For 136 years, the Democrats controlled the Mississippi House. And it wasn't until 2012 when we got enough Republicans to elect a Republican speaker. I was privileged to be that guy. So in the last 12 years, we've begun to implement conservative policies, which we think are moving Mississippi forward. The income tax being one of them. The education improvements. Again, Mississippi was ranked every year number 50 in the country in education. In 2013, we brought to bear a number of policies on education. The most one, I think, was the third grade reading gate, which said we're not going to socially promote third graders anymore. If you can't read like a third grader, you're not going on to the fourth grade. Well, there was wailing and gnashing of teeth, just like Chris mentioned at the beginning ago. The sky is going to fall, Chicken Little, and the world is going to come to an end if we don't move these third graders along. Before we passed that bill, only 64% of our third graders, only 2/3, could read like a third grader.
Wow.
We said, y'all got 2 years to get it right. And in 2 years, 93% of our third graders could read on grade level. That resulted in our, they call them the NAEP scores. I forget what that stands for, National Assessment of Educational Proficiency or something like that.
You're
Progress.
Yep.
Our fourth grade reading and math scores were number one in the country 2 years in a row because of what we did in the third grade. How dare we expect a third grader to read like a third grader? Yeah. But we did. We just raised the bar of expectation. Our graduation rate went up 11 points to beyond a national average.
Wow.
And now we're seeing the results of that. And you joke, people always used to say, thank God for Mississippi because we're not the worst. People are saying, thank God for Mississippi now because we have set the example of how to do education. And many of your friends and mine, like Robert Stivers from Kentucky and Tim Moore from North Carolina and Phil King from Texas, have all called me and said, what did y'all do in Mississippi on education? How are y'all making such tremendous progress? The latest rankings I saw had us moving from 50th to number 16 in the country.
That's incredible.
Education.
Wow.
So we're very proud of the progress we've made there. I think we're changing our image. We're changing with the income tax elimination, with the flag change that we did, with the education improvements that we did. And I'm very proud of the fact that the bill that overturned Roe versus Wade started in my caucus. We were the ones that led the charge on protecting the lives of the unborn. So those are just a sampling of a few things that I'm very proud of that we did over the last 12 years. I like to say we did more in the last 12 years than the Democrats did in the previous 136.
Sounds like it.
But I think Mississippi's moving in the right direction on a number of levels right now.
Mr. Speaker, let's talk a little Mississippi politics. One, I want to know, is Haley Barbour and the Barbour family, are they still involved in Mississippi politics?
Oh, yes, yes.
And where are the Democrats right now in the legislature? Are you guys a super
We
majority?
are now a super majority.
Okay.
In 2012, when we took over, we gained a majority in the House by 3 votes. But ever since then, with each election cycle, we have gained more and more. We have 122 members in the House, and we have 52 in the Senate. We have super majorities in both chambers. All statewide offices are Republican. The governor's office is Republican. So we are a very red state. Haley Barbour was an instrumental part in making that happen. He is still around. I see him regularly. He suffered a bad auto accident a few years ago, and he's still recovering from that. But he's very active, very well known. Everybody who, if they're involved in Republican politics at all, everybody knows the name Haley Barbour because he worked for Ronald Reagan.
And his
in
son
the White
is involved
House.
in that.
That's right.
Yeah.
He's got 2 sons that are both actively. Henry Barbour.
Right.
Well, let me back up. Henry Barbour is his nephew, and Henry was a national committee man from Mississippi for a long time. So I still see them. I actually, when I ran for the House back in 2003, I actually beat one of his nephews for the House. So
He's
that
still
was
talking to you?
Yes, yes. Actually, Haley never held that against me. He was very professional about it. And I saw the nephew the other day. I was dove hunting, and I heard somebody call my name, and it was the guy that I beat. And he came over there, and we had a good visit.
He wasn't pointing the rifle at you.
No, he wasn't.
All right, good.
But he actually came to get more bullets. But we had a good visit. He was always professional, always very kind, and I was privileged. If I'd have known then what I know now, I probably wouldn't have done it, taking on the Barbour machine like that. But Haley and I worked very closely together when he was the governor. We were still in the minority, but yet I was a leader of the Republican caucus. So we passed tort reform back in 2005, which changed the landscape from a business standpoint in Mississippi. And that has also made us more attractive to jobs and industry there. So.
Speaking with former Mississippi Speaker Philip Gunn. Mr. Speaker, before we let you go, I'm going to ask you a question that everybody always asks me. You know what I'm going to ask you. Now, like, what are you running for next? Are you going to run for anything next? Are you doing anything? Have you made now we're in Missouri, but news travels fast on radio airwaves.
Yes,
so I don't want you to get in trouble, but are you thinking about dipping back into the elected world?
I have been asked by a number of people to re-engage. And we have a governor's race coming up next year. Our governor's term limited. It'll be an open seat, and I'm strongly planning to make a run for that. There's a number of people who are looking at that. I think the one thing that distinguishes me from them is that I do have legislative experience. I know what it's like to get policies passed as you do, and that distinguishes me from the rest of them. But yes, we're in that off-year election, so we don't run till next year. But
Wow. Okay.
I am planning to make a strong run
It's
at it.
very
and
exciting. Well,
we're-
Chris and I would make a good comms team. You know,
We could.
yeah,
That's right.
Yeah, we can
Well,
do that. Yeah.
maybe another office. I know one of your senators is not as conservative as some folks would like.
Right. That's right.
Maybe
correct.
that's the office for you.
If that opportunity arises, we may pursue that as well.
So you're gonna have a busy year next year in Mississippi.
I do need to say hello to my aunt. She lives in Hamilton, Missouri.
Yes. Oh, okay.
And I'm up there all the time. Hamilton is a little town north of Kansas City, about 70 miles. And it's the home of J.C. Penney.
Okay.
And so I'm up there regularly seeing my aunt. So Missouri has been an integral part of my life since 1972 when she moved up here. She married my uncle and moved up there. So.
J.C. Penney actually has a bust in the Missouri,
yes,
in the Missouri
Hall
House.
of Famous Missourians. Yeah.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you for visiting. I know you're not a stranger to the Show Me State. We appreciate you coming up here in the dead of winter for us.
Yes.
I know you're not used to this, so we get you a coat. I know you're going to address all of us Missouri Republicans tonight and challenge us to be better on taxes and education.
Yeah.
Those are two passions of yours that were mine. That's why I think we've been such good friends. Thanks for swinging by here.
I'm honored to be on the show.
Love to have you back
for
again
having
soon.
me.
Thank you so much. Former Mississippi Speaker, potentially future governor.
Or senator.
Or senator.
Or senator.
Philip Gunn. There's a name you all should remember. Hey, we're going to bring another speaker into the conversation after a quick break here. He's Elijah Haar. He's from these parts. He's going to join us next on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 1019, 94.1 News Talk STL.
You're listening to Tim Jones and Chris Arps from the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A colder weekend coming our way. A low down to 29 degrees for Saturday morning. Some pockets of flurries or very light snow. We don't expect any impacts, and actually decreasing clouds and turning partly sunny in the afternoon on Saturday with a high of 42 degrees. That's a chilly day, though, and especially since we just had 70 a couple days ago. Sunday's even colder. A high of 36, and it is going to be blustery. So the wind chill about 25 degrees at best during the daytime under mostly sunny skies for Sunday. That's the latest in the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
This is News 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton, and we're proud to be the official winter weather source for News Talk STL. The First Alert Weather Team is working hard to keep you ahead of the big weather changes and help you plan your day. So stay connected this winter with Channel 4 and News Talk STL.
Well, after all of these many hours in our cars over the last few weeks, I was up to Jefferson City and back. I'm down in Springfield and back. You know, it's you need a little work done, right, on the old back, right? Well, I'm telling you, top-rated chiropractic care can be found in my hometown of Eureka, Missouri. Comprehensive Chiropractic and Sports Performance. They take care of folks all across the region. I'm telling you, they have patients all across eastern Missouri. Why? Because they're just that good. Doctors Pat Fader and Caleb Gorman and the others, Dr. Benton, they're such wonderful docs. They take care of you from stem to stern. They've been taking care of me for, I hate to say, kind of ages me, nearly 2 decades. Yeah, Dr. Fader has built Comprehensive Chiropractic into a healthcare powerhouse. They take care of athletes, they take care of weekend warriors, and they take care of anybody in between. I've trusted my family members, my daughters, my wife, my in-laws, my dad. They all go to Comprehensive Chiropractic. Why? Because it works. SeeChiropractic.com is where you can see all the details. They also have the studio upstairs. Beautiful facility, Pilates and yoga classes and other health-related classes, physical ed classes as well. They got the licensed massage therapist. They have the holistic care. Nutritional needs also can be met at Comprehensive Chiropractic. Let me tell you, this place works. It has made me into a better human being. I feel better with every visit, and you will too. Comprehensive Chiropractic can be found 24/7 at cchiropractic.com. That's cchiropractic.com. Comprehensive Chiropractic for all your comprehensive healthcare needs.
Columbo here for my friends at Bluff City Outdoors in Alton. The knowledgeable staff at Bluff City has served the St. Louis outdoor community for decades, and they can take care of all your bow hunting needs, all your trapping needs, all your fishing needs, and more. Plus, while you're there, you can schedule a trip with a local fishing guide and shoot in their archery range. Bluff City Outdoors is open 7 days a week, 1 mile east of Fast Eddie's at 2813 East Broadway in Alton. Follow them on Facebook and at bluffcityoutdoors.com.
The boats are back at Missouri's premier boat and fishing show.
February 20th through 22nd at America Center.
Take advantage of screaming deals on hundreds of boats.
Check out wake surf and pontoon boats,
fishing boats and luxury cruisers,
personal watercraft, and more.
Enjoy non-stop entertainment.
Live stingrays, pro angler demos.
Get ready for fun in the sun
at the St. Louis Boat and Fishing Show.
February 20th through 22nd at America Center.
Go to stlouisboatshows.com for info. Kids are free.
This Winter Games Update brought to you by Corel Roofing and Best Buy Flooring.
Westwood One Sports presents this special update on the 2026 Winter Games. Just like in women's hockey, it'll be Team USA and Canada for gold in men's hockey on Sunday. The U.S. took care of Slovakia 6-2 behind 2 goals from Jack Hughes. Much tougher semifinal for Canada, rallying from 2-0 down to beat Finland 3-2. Without the injured Sidney Crosby, Nathan McKinnon scored the game winner on the power play with 35 seconds to go. Freestyle skiing, American Alex Ferreira wins gold in the men's halfpipe after silver and bronze in the previous 2 Olympics. Short track speed skating, Corey Stoddard of the U.S. gets bronze in the women's 1,500 meters. Halfway through the 2-woman bobsled, the American team of Kaylee Humphreys and Jasmine Jones are third. The final 2 runs are tomorrow. Women's curling semifinals, the U.S. lost to Switzerland and will face Canada for bronze tomorrow. With this Winter Games update, I'm Brad Heller, Westwood One Sports.
At Fisher Investments, we may seem like other money managers, but we're different.
What makes you so different than the rest of us?
We ensure clients receive unparalleled service at every step of the relationship.
Tell me more.
Our investment counselors focus on service over sales, prioritizing clients' needs.
How do you make money?
We don't sell any commission-based products. We have a simple management fee based on the value of our client's portfolio. So we do better when our clients do better.
What about client portfolios?
We get to know each client, their finances, family, health, lifestyle, and more, and then we tailor a portfolio based on their specific goals and needs.
Your clients really come first then, huh?
Yes, we make them a top priority. Our goal is helping them achieve a comfortable retirement.
Wow, maybe we are different.
At Fisher Investments, we're clearly different. Learn more at FisherInvestments.com.
Investing in securities involves the risk of loss.
St. Louis's new choice for conservative talk. Live and local.
I need to know what's going on in my city.
News Talk STL.
Welcome back to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, live on location. We're doing a remote here at the 2026 Missouri statewide Lincoln Days, GOP Lincoln Days. Of course, there's Representative David Castile and the lovely Jordan rolling through all the VIPs. This is like the red carpet right here, Chris. We're
we
like
get to see them
we're
all.
like doing like the Academy Awards, right? Joey's very familiar with
just
that.
need a red carpet.
Joey's probably walked the red carpet. We got another guy who just walked down the red carpet, and you know what, Chris? We could just let him do this segment and talk to Joey for a while.
Go
we
get a
could
drink.
go hit the bar,
Yeah.
because I've seen some people walking around with cocktails. We're very happy to have one of Springfield's own, former Missouri House Speaker Elijah Haar. He knows a little thing or two about radio. He's on the mighty KWTO every afternoon down here in Springfield land. Mr. Speaker, good to see you. It's Speaker Hour here on the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
It is that. Where do speakers go? We don't retire. We just move to the airwaves.
That's right.
We have a lot of things to say.
Yeah, we yes, we do. Yes, we do. The only one who can out-talk us is maybe a senator, but maybe not. Elijah, how you doing, my friend?
I'm wonderful. It's nice to have everybody down in Springfield for Lincoln Days. You know, it's always great. We traipse around the state, but having people in Springfield filling up the hotels and spending money in the restaurants, we love it. We love it so much.
This is a big crowd, right? We're not imagining this.
No, it's great.
Yeah.
And it's also, this is a really nice venue in Springfield. You know, sometimes we have there's a couple venues that aren't quite as nice. I like this one a lot. I think it's really good.
Indeed.
Elijah, Mr. Speaker, excuse me, you are a young man.
Don't tell me that he makes you call him Mr.
He does.
Speaker all
He
the
makes
time.
me.
Oh, my
It's in the
God.
contract.
Only
I have,
Jeff.
I have,
Okay.
I
Only
have
Jeff
to call
has.
him Mr.
Only
Speaker.
Jeff has to call me Mr. Speaker. Yeah.
You are a young man, and you've been out of the speakership for a few years now. Is your political career over? Do you think you may pursue another office in the future?
I have no idea. In fact, somewhere around here, I've got my 14-year-old son's running around. I've got a bunch of kids, and I always tell people when I first ran for office, I had one. By the time I left, I had four, and I was like, I don't want to miss stuff.
Right.
And so, my son's got a big speech and debate tournament tomorrow here in Springfield. I've got. I was at volleyball games all week with my girls, and it's like it's not super conducive to go to Jeff City while they're growing up.
Sure.
Listen, when they're older, who knows what the future is? Right now, I've got a great schedule. I get to sort of build my schedule around theirs. And everybody I talk to who's 50 or older, that's what they always say is, oh, the one thing I should have done, spent more time with them. So I'm like, all right, I'm going to do that. I was really lucky. I had my parents homeschooled me. So they never missed a ball game. They never missed it. So I was like, listen, I'm going to take that time to do this. We get on the other side of that. We'll see what happens.
Couldn't agree with you more. It was a good choice for me to take a break as well. And I don't know. I mean, I don't know if it's like the mob or not, or once you think you're out, they'll pull you back in. But we'll see. Maybe another conversation for another day. So you're on the air every day here in Springfield. So you're definitely. I'm sure you cover all the international and national stories like we do, all the red meat, hardcore Republican stuff. But I'm curious to know what's the big topics, what's the big to do going on in Springfield now. We were talking to former Governor Kinder about that and how this area has just been blowing up over the last few years.
It has, and especially if you look down, it's not just Springfield. It's the I-44 corridor. It's Joplin. It's McDonald County as you get that spread coming up from Bentonville. But I think, obviously a lot of the issues going to come. Same issues you got in St. Louis or Kansas City. It's going to be crime. It's going to be homelessness. And it's going to be budgets. I mean, we went through those years under Joe Biden where ARPA money was flowing, everybody's spending. And all of a sudden, we have to tighten the purse strings a little bit. And sometimes the local leaders, they haven't figured out if we can do that. They're, we've seen conversations this week about we need a convention center. We've seen conversations about we need a new jail. We need a new justice center. And we're just trying to figure out, can we live within the means? Because right now, everywhere you look, everybody's having to tighten those budget reins.
Mr. Speaker, it seems like every speaker seems to have like a pet issue that they want to get past and cement their legacy. I know for Tim, it was school choice. What was yours?
I'll be honest. When I went in, there was no burning thing I went in. There ended up being two issues that I spent a lot of time on. One was abortion. While I was there, we passed a big abortion bill. It had a trigger law in it. So when that went into, or when the Dobbs decision came down, that went into effect. So that was one that we spent a whole lot of time on. The second issue was actually ended up being property rights, and particularly going to war against eminent domain. There was this big line, this big transmission line that went across northern Missouri. They're taking farmers' land to do it. We went to war on that for years. I fought with the cattlemen and the various different agricultural groups to try to stop that. And even recently, Josh Hawley, just a few months ago, he went to the Department of Energy. He's like, let's cancel this loan to Invenergy. They're using your federal tax dollars to take land from Missouri farmers. So those are probably the two issues I spent the most time on. I'm still convinced, if not for COVID in 2020, we would have blocked that Grain Belt Express going through northern Missouri. But we ended up running out of time. We had to cancel half the session, and we couldn't get the bill through.
Right. Elijah, let's give our own voters a little tough love here for a minute. You mentioned the pro-life issue. We have the new and improved Amendment 3 on the ballot, and you and I have been there and done that a million times. It's not a perfect bill. Those things don't exist, right? This is the bill that is going to save the most babies and going to protect our kids from gender ideology. We really need Southwest Missouri to show up this fall and vote for Amendment 3, don't we?
We do, and you're absolutely right. We're not going to make the perfect the enemy of the good. We fought. Listen, I was in the room. I helped write the bill that banned abortion. The Missouri voters didn't vote for that bill, so we've got to go and we've got to get what we can get, because this idea that we're either getting everything or nothing, it's just not going to work for us. I mean, politics is the art of the possible.
Right.
You think about when they wrote the Constitution, they were making compromises left and right. That was part of getting that thing done. And so we've got to do the same thing. We're going to go. This year, we're going to get some of it back, and then after that, we'll regroup and we'll try to go after the rest. But we've got to make sure we build a beachhead in this election on this issue.
Mr. Speaker, if you would have asked me 10 years ago, would I be doing a daily radio show, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. But you know how sometimes how life is, throws you curveballs, and you end up doing things that are unexpected. Was this something that you saw in your future, being a radio talk show host, and what's the story behind it?
You know, it wasn't, but I will tell you, I grew up, I worked in summers. I worked with my dad on the construction job site, and he didn't let anybody swear on the job site. So none of the music stations we got to play. So I grew up on Rush Limbaugh, and that's when I got into talk radio. So I came out of the legislature, and I got a call, and they were like, hey, there's morning shows around, but we don't have an afternoon show. What would you think? And I thought about it. I'm like, I'll give it a shot and see how it goes. Well, I gave it a shot 4 years ago, and I'm still doing it, and I'm still giving it a shot. So it's been a lot of fun. I've enjoyed every minute of it, and well, that's not true. I've enjoyed most of it. I can't say every minute.
What's the toughest thing you think is about doing this?
You know, I think the toughest thing is some days, especially not so much this year, but a couple years ago, you had these tough days where you're like, I don't know what to talk about. It's the same thing. Nothing's changed. You know, that's the best thing about Donald Trump. Every day, he gives you like three or four things to talk about. He's got the pot stir. Today, I was covering a national show. I covered the Eric Erickson show today. And, you know, an hour before I go on the air, the Supreme Court comes down 6-3 and says, we're not going to let him do tariffs. And immediately, Donald Trump's like, I've got a press conference scheduled. I'm like, this is going to be the easiest day to do.
Indeed, indeed. Elijah, I know that you still closely watch our old Missouri House and our legislature in general. And year in, year out, some of the issues you and I worked on, we got them done. They're finished. They're over. But others, we moved the ball a little bit further down the field. And
Just
they're
like
still
school choice.
And they're still working on some things. What would you love if you could wave that magic wand, get the Senate to finally do something or other? What would you love to see get through the legislature this year?
You know, I'd really like to see this income tax elimination. And I know it's a multi-year process because it's going to have to go to the voters. But you look at the states around the country, you look at Tennessee and you look at Florida, and the states that are really starting to go, those states that don't have an income tax, they're really taking off. And I remember a couple years ago, I flew out to New Hampshire right before the primary. And I remember I was talking to the person there, and they're like, oh, yeah, there's no income tax. I go to buy a coffee, and there's no sales tax. And I'm like,
what?
In my head, I knew that existed. But I was like, I don't know how everybody doesn't retire. I don't care that it's cold. No income tax, no sales. This is amazing.
And the state still operates and works.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Now, she said, she's like, listen, we don't, like, when we have libraries, they're usually privately funded. They're not quite as common. She's like, the school systems are all, they're local. But, man, that state hums right along. It's great. Those people they live with, they're like, don't tell us what to do. And it was awesome. I loved it.
Live free or die state.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mr. Speaker, we're about 2 months into the legislature, and we know that usually at the end of the session, that's when you see this mad dash to get things done. If you could, what would you give the grade so far of the legislature with their progress?
I mean, I'm going to say it's an incomplete because you just can't judge a legislature at this point in session. And it's a unique year because usually, like you said, the end of the legislature gets really rough. I always say the last week before spring break and the last 2 weeks of session, they're really rough. This one started rough. This one, you had bad blood from last year. You had a special session. Democrats came in. They're cranky about everything. So it's kind of off to a bumpy start. Now, they're starting to round into form. And just as they start to round into form, well, here we go. The Senate and the House are not going to get along. They're getting a little chippy before spring break. We know that's going to happen. They're going to take a little of the pressure off. We'll get the budget. And then I always say, usually in the last 2 weeks, there's like a day or two where the sweet spot hits. Everybody gets a little panicked. Their stuff's not going to pass. And suddenly you see like 20 bills are passed and everything gets done in those 48 hours. And, you know, there's been a couple times we didn't have that 48 hours, but I always say right there at the end, the sweet spot, if you nail that, you're going to have a good session.
Speaking to former Missouri House Speaker Elijah Har. Elijah, we got a minute or so left here. Let's have a little Friday fun time. I follow you on Twitter, so I see what you talk about every day, and you incorporate a lot of fun. You're a big sports guy.
I'm a big sports guy.
Probably more than I am, but I do love sports and all that. What are you watching right now? I've been loving the Olympics. I think that's been fantastic. We're about to kick off baseball season. I think you're a big baseball guy. So what are you talking about on the show these days, sports-wise?
I've definitely talked a lot about the Olympics. In fact, I talked about this today about, you had this Amber Glenn who goes to the Olympics. She's, one of the front runners for the medal. And I watched an interview, and I watched it with my kids. And the first thing she says is, well, I'm here for the LGBTQ community. And the next day, Madonna's like, oh, I can't wait for this. Well, she goes out, she skates, and she goes 13th. And I'm like, she doesn't come in focused on that goal, eye on the prize. She comes in trying to carry a political message. Whereas you had this Alyssa Liu, all she cared about was like, listen, I'm going to go win a gold. I'm not talking about anything else. I'm just going to go win a gold. She skates the skate of her life, first American to women. I thought that was really interesting because you can tell the athletes that are distracted, that are trying to go out there. I want to talk about Donald Trump. They're missing the point of the Olympics. And I thought that story was really fascinating.
So right about that. I watched her performance. It was effortless. And the other one that
so
did the
good.
same thing, Michaela Schifrin.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm here to win medals
Right.
and represent my
And
country.
your country, not like Eileen Gu. You're not going over to China to represent them. You represent the United States.
And it's unfortunate that these activists have told these athletes, because you are a performer, a top performer, that you have a platform and you owe it because you have that platform to try to promote an issue, and you don't.
You've got the rest of your life as an Olympic medalist to tell people what you think, but you got a week to try to win that medal. Don't be distracted by anything else.
Amen. I think we covered it all from soup to nuts with former Missouri House Speaker Elijah Harr from right here in Springfield. We're in his hometown. Elijah, thanks so much for stopping by today.
Hey, really appreciate hosting you guys, and I'm really nice to see all the setup. I'm going to have to start doing some more remotes.
Joey's for hire.
I love it.
But you can't steal him permanently. All right.
He's expensive, though.
He is. He's highfalutin. 5:41 in the p.m. We're hoping that U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt has landed here in Springfield, Missouri. If he has and he can get on the phone lines, we hope to speak with him next to wrap things up and prepare ourselves for the Lincoln Days activities ahead. Chris and I here on the tip of the spear as we head into Missouri Lincoln Days 2026 in Springfield, Missouri. Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show, 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL.
Follow us on Rumble at News Talk STL. Like us on Facebook at News Talk STL. From the Michaels Flooring Outlet Weather Center.
I'm First Alert 4 Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton. A colder weekend coming our way. A low down to 29 degrees for Saturday morning. Some pockets of flurries or very light snow. We don't expect any impacts, and actually decreasing clouds and turning partly sunny in the afternoon on Saturday with a high of 42 degrees. That's a chilly day, though, and especially since we just had 70 a couple days ago. Sunday's even colder, a high of 36, and it is going to be blustery. So the wind chill about 25 degrees at best during the daytime under mostly sunny skies for Sunday. That's the latest from the First Alert 4 Weather Center. I'm Chief Meteorologist Steve Templeton.
The world's best athletes, the biggest stage, the thrill of competition. News Talk STL brings you winter game updates 4 times every weekday. Get the latest results, medal counts, and top stories from the games. Stay connected to all the action as our athletes go for the gold. Brought to you by Corel Roofing and Best Buy Flooring. Details at newstalkstl.com.
Ever feel like just a number in a waiting room? Hi, I'm Shannon Tribune, Director of Operations with Body of Health Direct Primary Care. Navigating the medical system can be a maze of stress. I'm your personal guide at Body of Health. I handle the messy parts of medical care, the logistics and complex coordination, both in and outside our walls, so you and Dr. Tobler, that's my dad, can focus on what matters most, your health. At Body of Health, you're not just a patient, you're part of the family, because that's healthcare the way it ought to be. To learn more, schedule a discovery call at bodyofhealth.com.
All right. 5:44, Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show at the beautiful Oasis, as Jeff Allen and Tim Jones like to say. We're here at the 2026 Lincoln Days celebration, and we said it over and over, but it's the truth. I have never seen this many people this early. It's going to be very electric. And speaking of electric,
we do. We do.
Oh, well, okay. Senator, welcome to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show.
How you guys doing?
Great. This is a great honor to have you on. We weren't exactly sure if we were going to have you, but we're glad that you were on, sir. Glad that you had a safe flight. And one thing that I want to ask you about, of course, is Tuesday, the State of the Union. The Democrats have said that they're going to boycott the State of the Union. They're going to have their own show on the Mall. I'm sure you have a few thoughts about that.
Well, they're a bunch of babies at this point. And last year, I mean, this is so stupid. I mean, I went to 2 State of the Unions with Joe Biden, and I was bored out of my mind. But out of respect for the country and the process, you show up to these things. And last year, I remember when President Trump gave his State of the Union, he was introducing law enforcement officials, people who've survived the terrible tragedies in their lives. They wouldn't even stand up for these people. These are Americans. And I think that my hope is that the State of the Union, I foresee a speech from the president that'll be very optimistic and forward-looking, one that tries to bring people together. But the Democrats are stuck on this Trump derangement syndrome. You look at some of the ads they're cutting now in some of these states. It's F Trump, it's F ICE, and all this stuff. It's very divisive. And so I think his message will be one of coming together. A lot of the successes we've had in the first year, if they want to have their own, event on the Mall or something, I mean, have at it, I guess. I just think it's really disrespectful.
U.S. Senator Eric Schmidt joining us this afternoon. He literally just landed in Springfield. He's on his way to Lincoln Days, where we currently are. Senator, there's a big crowd here waiting for you, and you need to behave yourself because our GOP den mother, Renee Artman, is sitting in your chair with the headphones on, listening. Yeah, so behave yourself.
Well, listen, if Renee, I know Renee. No one's getting out of line with Renee Artman.
Exactly.
Senator, the Save America Act, the one that will protect electoral integrity all across the land, another 80-20 issue that the Democrats love to loathe, is in your hands in the Senate. I know there's a lot of discussion about whether Senator Thune, your leader there, may actually make the Democrats engage in a talking filibuster like you had to do many times in the state Senate, right, or whether they're just going to get away with saying, we don't like this, so therefore we'll just say we're filibustering, not to do anything. Where are you on that issue? Where do you think the Senate might eventually go? Can we possibly get this done?
Yeah, I mean, you mentioned it. I mean, my experience in the Missouri Senate before I was in statewide office is you had to earn it. And I think that would be appropriate here. I think this is a big issue. And I don't think it's any coincidence that 2 issues are kind of converging at the same time. Voter integrity and sort of this, being able to show photo ID through the Save America Act and illegal immigration. Democrats, in many ways, guys, have lost the argument with the American people. And so their strategy has been, they don't really try to hide it anymore over the last 4 years, was to import 15 to 20 million people here illegally and hope that they vote for them. And if they have a mail-in balloting scheme that helps it along, or people don't have to prove who they are, they're more than willing to do it because it's all about power. And so from my perspective, you have to show an ID to check into a hotel room. I mean, most people think that this is ridiculous, right? And that's why even 73% of Democrats think that this is the right thing to do. But their leadership knows what's at stake. They know that individuals who are here illegally, you don't have to be a citizen to be counted in the census. They count on that. They want people. They want to import people here and have them vote for them, and it's wrong. So I hope that we have some resolve here to get this done. That'd be what I want.
Senator, big news yesterday for St. Louis and the St. Louis region. Boeing decided to bring their defense headquarters back to St. Louis. I know as a member of the Armed Services Committee, you are ecstatic about that, and I'm sure you had a little something to do with that.
Yeah, I mean, it was great to have Secretary Hegseth in town. And the truth of the matter is, if you look across the country, there's no place better positioned than Missouri and St. Louis specifically to be the defense tech capital of the United States of America. You go back decades, McDonnell Douglas, Boeing, we're still building F-15s that were awarded originally in the 1970s. I'm really proud, perhaps maybe most proud of getting the F-47 to be built in St. Louis. That is 5,000 new jobs, hundreds of millions of dollars worth of investment, not just in St. Louis, but across the state with the supplier network. We're not done yet. And you look at the demand signal that's going up. President Trump's serious about reforming the Pentagon, having more innovation, procurement reform, so we can have the most lethal military in the world. And a lot of that work is going to be done in the Show Me State. There's a desire to move a lot of this stuff off the coast and this reindustrialization, I think, that's happening in the Midwest. St. Louis can be the center of that, and that's good for our whole state. So having the secretary in town highlighting that, Boeing moving their defense headquarters from Washington, D.C. to St. Louis, Missouri is a very, very strong signal, and I think there's a lot of great things to come.
And Senator, you know quite a bit about the importance of state policies as well. I don't know that it was any accident that shortly after the election of Abigail Spanberger, who was in Congress and is now the governor of the Commonwealth of Virginia, she's made a bunch of public promises about raising taxes on everything and increasing regulations wherever she can go. Senator, those things matter to businesses, as you know, right? And so we're very happy to welcome these folks back to the more open arms of the Show Me State, right?
That's right. And I think that, being on the Armed Services Committee, one of the things I try to do, people want to meet all the time about what's going on, or their company's doing this and they're doing that. And one of the first questions I always ask is, what's your presence like in Missouri? What are you doing? I think you look at this corridor we have. Kansas City's got a lot of great things going on. Springfield has a lot of, actually in Southwest Missouri, have some defense companies as well. But in St. Louis, where you have NGA West expanding, that is, for the folks listening, that is when you're mapping a missile going from here to there anywhere in the world, that is happening in St. Louis. And the genesis of that was, of course, when Lewis and Clark embarked from St. Louis. That's why the mapping agency for the country is in St. Louis. That's expanding. You're going to see more small businesses being allowed, and they're opening that up a little bit. They're having a SCIF, meaning they can have, sort of top secret conversations with people and have it more kind of public facing. You're seeing an ecosystem of small businesses come. And of course, with Boeing, I can't stress enough, this F-47, it will be the most advanced aircraft in the history of mankind. It will see further, go faster, have a bigger payload. It is made to order for the Indo-Pacific. And if you look at our foreign policy, we're shifting away really from Europe and those parts of the world to.
Oh, did we lose the senator? All right, looks like we've lost him. We'll try to get him back. I wanted to ask him too, Tim, his thoughts on the big Supreme Court decision today with the tariffs, the 6-3 decision saying that the president couldn't use emergency authority to place these tariffs. Want to get his thoughts on that, and especially the question of, are these companies going to have to refund billions of dollars to these corporations?
Yeah, and producer Ethan he'll give us a holler if the senator calls back. He's en route between airport and here, so things happen. But we had a lot of great discussions with him, and he really doubled down on how important it was for us to get that project here. Chris, on that issue of repayment, I heard a couple of legal experts today talk about the fact that the question of repayment of tariffs can absolutely be tied up in the courts for the next 5 years or more. So I wouldn't bet the farm one way or the other on that. And the other thing to point out is not all powers to tariff are created equal. Donald Trump was doing most of these tariffs through a specific and certain U.S. statute. Yeah. And there's a lot of people don't realize presidents have a lot of power over trade. And so Donald Trump's like, look, I tried to do this the easy way. If people want me to do it the hard way, well, that's what I'll do now instead. So he's got a lot of power to embargo, to pull country life. So I think he's going to maintain. Someone said he's probably going to maintain 85 to 90% of these trade deals anyway. Oh, and I think we have the senator possibly back on the line. Senator, you back with us?
I'm back. Sorry, I don't know what happened, and I don't know when I dropped. I apologize.
Chuck Schumer intervened.
Yeah, Schumer or the Chinese communists, one of the two. I don't know, or maybe the same. I don't know.
Senator, final question I wanted to ask you, or not the final question. The one question I wanted to ask you was about the big Supreme Court decision today, 6-3, that said the president cannot use emergency powers to place these tariffs, and the fact that maybe these companies may have to be reimbursed billions of dollars for those tariffs. I want to get your thoughts on the decision today.
Well, I disagree with the decision. I think under IEPA, that was the statute that's referenced, when the language about regulating imports, as Justice Kavanaugh wrote in his dissent, certainly means tariffs. I don't know how it couldn't mean tariffs. And other statutes that are similar, including the ones invoked by Richard Nixon, when he had a global tariff, it was upheld. So I disagree with the decision, but there are other tools in the toolbox. If anybody believes that this president isn't going to use every ounce of leverage he has to correct the wrongs of the past and these ridiculous trade deals we've had, you don't know him very well. He's going to do that We've been ripped off for far too long by these countries. Our jobs have been shipped overseas. Working class Americans have been sort of sold off to the highest bidder here. We've lost a lot of factories. Those are coming back, $19 trillion worth of investment, a lot of because of those tariffs. So they've already talked about having a 10% global tariff nationwide. I think he's not going to stop with this. He has other statutory authorities, and I think that's what's coming next.
Senator, we got about 2 minutes left. What would you like to hear from the president at the State of the Union this coming Tuesday? What vision would you like him to set out? We know he is going to give a powerful speech. What would you like to hear specifically as far as what you all would hope to do this year together in Congress?
Well, one of the things I think will be important is to sort of check off a lot of the successes already, right? I mean, if you would have said, a year and a half ago that we would have no illegal border crossings effectively, right? When 10 to 15 million people came here illegally, that would have been unfathomable. So if you have a president that's focused on it, it can happen. I think, a lot of the no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, those are big successes that people are going to see in their paychecks in the upcoming year. But I think having a vision, look, for 4 years, the inflation-adjusted, wage numbers were down. People lost about $4,000 to $5,000, in that time period of spending power. That's now gone up about $1,200. There's more work to do, but I think these policies that are in place, I think an optimistic vision. America is ascending. Okay, we were, as President Trump says, we were a dead country. There was no investment. People were down. Inflation was high. That's all changing. It doesn't happen overnight. But I think an optimistic vision of where we're headed, what can happen when you have an America First policy, when you're proud of your country. I think that one of the reasons the left has lost so many elections recently is they just sort of sneer at middle America, so-called flyover country. And in Missouri, we know we can build things. We know if you empower workers, we can be successful. Those are the two biggest differences between the parties right now, one of elites and one of working folks. And so I think if he talks about that, that's the core of his coalition, and lay out a vision, I think it's going to be a great speech.
Senator, I do have to ask you this very, very important question. When you play golf with the President of the United States, do you let him win?
Well, first of all, it's not an issue. He's a very good golfer, and he wins. There are some gimme putts, I'll be honest, when I say that's good, Mr. President, that maybe I wouldn't give one of you guys if we were out. Sure. Okay? But he's a good golfer. He just doesn't miss a fairway. He's got a good short game. Like, he's good. And I like to say I play well enough to get invited back. So it's a lot of fun. And it's a very different experience. He's in a relaxed environment. You can talk about a bunch of different things, even different than when you're in the Oval Office. So so those are just great opportunities for me to advocate for Missouri. And he knows Missouri loves him. He knows exactly what he won by in his three elections. So.
Well, Senator, I can tell you there's a big crowd here that's waiting for you, and they can't wait for you to get here. And good luck with your speech. And I hope we can get you on the show on a regular basis. We'd love to talk shop with you.
Yeah, love to. All right, guys, we'll see you soon.
Thank you, Senator. All
Bye-bye.
right, Tim, our work is done here.
That was a fantastic show indeed, if I may say so ourselves. I think we did fantastic talking to senators and congressmen and party chairmen and speakers and everybody in between.
Exactly. And Larry Connors USA, of course, is up next. The story behind the story, why Robert Duvall turned down Godfather 3. You've been listening to the Tim Jones and Chris Arps Show on 101.9, 94.1 News Talk STL from Springfield. Drive safe and have a great weekend.
Like and subscribe to us on Rumble. News Talk STL.
They served our country with honor. Now it's our turn.